Welcome, my night wanderers. Tonight, we travel through the winding paths of Colorado, where mountains rise like silent sentinels and shadows cling longer than the sun allows. These roads were once carved for settlers, miners, and wanderers, but over time, something darker claimed them. Travelers vanish without a trace, headlights flicker over empty bends, and whispers follow those brave enough to drive alone at night. Each mile holds secrets. Some are old, some are new, all are deadly. So keep your eyes wide, keep your hands upon the wheel, and let's journey together along the 25 most haunted roads in Colorado where travelers disappear. Hoosier Pass Road in Summit County has long carried a reputation for danger, not just because of its winding curves and steep drop-offs, but because of the eerie stories that surround it. Nestled high in the mountains, this road cuts through a landscape that is both breathtaking and treacherous, where weather can change in an instant and thick fog descends like a living entity. Locals warn travelers to exercise caution, but beyond the physical risks lies a deeper, more unsettling danger: the presence of ghostly figures said to haunt the pass. The legend of Hoosier Pass begins with the miners who once flocked to the mountains during gold rushes long ago. These men lived hard, dangerous lives, and many never made it home. Stories say that those who perished on the cliffs and in the mines never truly left, their spirits bound to the landscape where they spent their final days. Travelers recount seeing figures in dusty, weather-worn clothing standing near the edge of the road, sometimes gesturing urgently as if trying to warn or direct. Yet, when approached, these figures vanish, leaving only the echo of the wind and the haunting sensation of having been watched. Fog is a constant presence on Hoosier Pass Road, often appearing without warning and obscuring the narrow roadway. Drivers describe it as thick and almost tactile, clinging to the sides of vehicles and swallowing the headlights. In the dense mist, shadows seem to move at the periphery of vision, shapes that vanish as soon as they are confronted. Many claim to have glimpsed ghostly figures waving from the roadside, only to find empty space when they try to investigate. Some believe the fog itself is a conduit for these spirits, a medium through which the miners' unrest manifests. Vehicles have a way of becoming trapped in the pass during these foggy conditions. Locals report that cars stall inexplicably, brakes fail without warning, or steering becomes difficult as the road narrows and cliffs loom perilously close. Some attribute these phenomena to natural hazards, but others claim they are the work of spectral miners who push cars toward the precipice, reenacting the fatal accidents that claimed their lives. Those who survive these experiences often describe a heightened sense of dread, a feeling that unseen hands are guiding or resisting their movements, as if the road itself is alive with memory. Witnesses tell of hearing voices carried on the wind, soft murmurs that grow louder when one stops the vehicle. These whispers are often indistinct, a jumble of syllables, but occasionally words can be made out: names, warnings, or pleas for help. Some travelers report hearing footsteps crunching on gravel when no one is present, the sound approaching from behind, then fading into the fog. Others speak of seeing lanterns flickering in the distance, glowing lights that resemble the tools miners once carried, bobbing along the roadside or across the tree line, vanishing before they can be reached. Accidents on Hoosier Pass Road have fueled the eerie reputation of the pass. Many locals claim that vehicles found off the road bear no explanation for their descent, with drivers recalling only glimpses of shadowy figures or sudden, unnatural changes in fog density. Some victims describe being guided by ghostly hands, either away from danger or tragically toward it, leaving a persistent question about intent. Are the spirits warning travelers, or are they reenacting the tragic events of their own lives in a never-ending cycle? This ambiguity contributes to the unsettling atmosphere that blankets the road. Those who stop to help stranded travelers also report supernatural encounters. A passerby may pull over to assist a motorist only to see the figure suddenly vanish into thin air. Others have described seeing multiple figures standing by abandoned mine entrances or along treacherous curves, gesturing frantically as if trying to communicate something vital. In some cases, those attempting to approach the figures feel an invisible resistance, as if an unseen presence is guiding them back to the safety of their vehicle. The combination of visual, auditory, and physical sensations makes the experience intensely real, leaving lasting impressions on anyone who encounters these apparitions. Time seems to behave strangely along Hoosier Pass Road. Travelers report that while only minutes may pass on the clock, the journey feels elongated, as if the road stretches unnaturally or events replay in loops. Vehicles that stalled or spun out often restart without mechanical explanation, and drivers report sudden changes in the terrain that seem to correct themselves, leaving the question of whether these occurrences are natural or supernatural. The road, steeped in history and tragedy, seems to preserve the memory of past events, letting the present become entangled with the echoes of lives long gone. Locals have developed an uneasy respect for Hoosier Pass Road. They advise against traveling after dark or during foggy conditions, sharing stories that are both warnings and cautionary tales. The legends are passed down through generations, a blend of historical accounts of mining accidents and first-hand ghost sightings. Some say that the spirits are restless because of unfinished business, bound to the past until their stories are acknowledged or their deaths avenged. Others suggest that the miners are protective, ensuring that the living proceed carefully where they once met tragedy. For those willing to brave Hoosier Pass, the experiences are unforgettable. Drivers often emerge shaken, recounting encounters with figures that vanish, whispers that cling to the ears, and cold gusts of wind that seem to carry more than just mountain air. The combination of fog, steep cliffs, and ghostly activity creates an environment where reality blurs and the past feels vividly present. Visitors leave with a sense that the spirits of Hoosier Pass Road are ever watchful, tied to the road where they lived, worked, and ultimately met their end. Ridgeway Ghost Road in Ouray County is a place where history and legend intertwine, creating a haunting atmosphere that has captivated locals and travelers alike for generations. Once a vital stagecoach route, this narrow, winding road, carved through steep cliffs and rugged terrain, connecting small mining towns and remote settlements in the late 1800s. The road's history is stained with tragedy, from stagecoach accidents to the mysterious disappearances of travelers, and it is these stories that have given rise to the enduring tales of supernatural activity that continue to draw the curious and the brave. Those who traverse Ridgeway Ghost Road after dark often speak of an eerie stillness that hangs in the air, broken only by the occasional gust of wind rushing through the narrow canyons. Visitors report feeling watched, a sense of unseen eyes following their progress along the jagged cliffs and tight turns. The road seems to take on a life of its own, as if preserving the memories of those who once traveled it and the tragedies that unfolded along its path. Many say that the cliffs themselves echo with the stories of the vanished, whispering warnings to the living. One of the most enduring legends involves the stagecoach drivers who once navigated the treacherous route. Accounts tell of a particular driver who disappeared without a trace one stormy night, leaving his passengers stranded on the cliffs. Locals claim that his spirit continues to traverse the road, guiding or perhaps chasing those who dare travel after dark. Witnesses have reported hearing the faint clip-clop of hooves on the uneven path, even when no horses are present. Some describe the sounds as growing louder as they progress, only to vanish suddenly, leaving nothing but the echoing wind. Others have reported glimpses of a spectral carriage moving silently along the cliffs, lanterns bobbing at its sides, as if carried by invisible hands. Lanterns are a recurring element in the tales of Ridgeway Ghost Road. On misty nights, travelers have seen small points of light dancing along the cliffs, moving independently of the wind or natural sources. These lights often appear in places where the road narrows dangerously, leading many to believe that the spirits of lost miners or stagecoach travelers are warning the living of the cliff's deadly edges. Others interpret the lanterns as restless spirits attempting to retrace their final journeys, doomed to wander the road for eternity. The effect is unnerving, as the lights seem to appear and disappear at will, bobbing up and down, sometimes approaching as if curious, sometimes retreating into the darkness. Disappearances along Ridgeway Ghost Road are part of what gives it its notorious reputation. Historical accounts describe travelers who were never seen again, their wagons abandoned, or their tracks leading only to cliffs. Some modern explorers report vehicles stalling for no mechanical reason or headlights dimming inexplicably as they navigate the hairpin turns. Others recount seeing shadowy figures standing at the edge of cliffs, appearing as silhouettes against the night sky, only to vanish when approached. These experiences leave visitors shaken, often questioning the boundary between natural hazard and the supernatural. The sounds of Ridgeway Ghost Road are as unsettling as its sights. Beyond the phantom hooves, witnesses describe the creaking of wooden stagecoach wheels, the faint jingle of harness bells, and the occasional crash or thud that echoes off the canyon walls. Some claim to hear muffled voices calling out from the darkness, indistinct at first, but sometimes recognizable as the names of long-departed travelers. The road seems to amplify these sounds, making it difficult to distinguish between imagination and reality. The combination of auditory and visual phenomena contributes to the road's haunted reputation, making it a place where every shadow and every sound is suspect. Many who visit Ridgeway Ghost Road speak of a sense of time distortion. Minutes can feel like hours as the road twists and turns, and travelers often report a feeling of being followed by invisible presences that seem to move in parallel with them. Some drivers report sudden drops in temperature, a chill that has no apparent source, or the sensation of hands brushing against their arms as they navigate the curves. The eerie environment heightens the sense that the road is alive with memory, preserving the echoes of countless journeys, both tragic and mundane. Locals pass down stories of Ridgeway Ghost Road as cautionary tales. Parents warn children, and guides caution tourists, not just about the physical dangers of the cliffs, but about the road's spectral residents. Those who ignore the warnings often come back with stories of unexplained lights, shadowy figures, or unsettling sounds. Many believe that the spirits are neither fully malevolent nor benevolent. Rather, they exist in a liminal space tied to the road and its history. The vanished stagecoach driver, the miners, and other travelers who met untimely ends appear to be replaying fragments of their lives, leaving the living to interpret their intentions. For the brave or the curious, traveling Ridgeway Ghost Road is an unforgettable experience. The combination of sheer cliffs, winding paths, and spectral phenomena creates an environment where the past seems to bleed into the present. Phantom carriages, lanterns moving in the night, the clip-clop of invisible hooves, and the whispering of long-lost voices make it clear that the road is more than just a scenic byway. It is a place where history, legend, and the unexplained converge, leaving every traveler with a story they will carry long after leaving the pass. Rainbow Curve, located in the rugged mountains outside Boulder, has earned a reputation among locals and travelers alike as one of Colorado's most haunted stretches of road. This sharp, treacherous bend, carved into the side of a steep cliff, is the site of countless accidents, both historical and modern. But what makes Rainbow Curve infamous is not simply the danger of its hairpin turn, it is the reports of unexplained phenomena, ghostly apparitions, and eerie warnings from a figure that seems to linger in the night, guiding some drivers toward disaster. The most commonly reported spirit is a woman in a flowing red dress, often described as pale and ethereal, her long hair blowing in a phantom wind that seems to affect nothing else. Travelers have recounted seeing her standing by the roadside at dusk or late at night, her hand raised as though signaling an unseen hazard. Her presence is unsettling, yet oddly serene, and her gaze seems fixed on those approaching. Witnesses claim that she gestures toward the road, sometimes pointing directly into the cliffs or toward sharp turns. What makes her apparition particularly sinister is that drivers who heed her gestures often meet tragedy, driving straight off the edge while she disappears only to reappear further along, watching, waving, and smiling as if observing a lesson learned. Cars stalling at Rainbow Curve is another common occurrence. Numerous drivers report their engines dying inexplicably, headlights flickering or dimming, and instruments behaving erratically when approaching the curve. Mechanics who have inspected these vehicles after such incidents often find no mechanical failure to explain the malfunctions. The phenomenon is reported across decades, suggesting that something beyond the ordinary interferes with the vehicles here. Some theorists propose electromagnetic disturbances caused by the surrounding rock formations. But for those who have actually seen the woman in red, the explanation feels far more personal and deliberate. Fog frequently rolls over Rainbow Curve, often descending suddenly from the mountainside, obscuring visibility entirely. Travelers describe a dense, clinging mist that swallows the edge of the cliff and the road ahead. Within this fog, the red-dressed figure appears even more vividly, a bright, impossible splash of color against the gray. She seems to move against the wind, always remaining perfectly visible even when everything else is shrouded. Some drivers who encounter her describe feeling a strange compulsion to follow her directions, as if an invisible force is guiding their hands on the wheel. It is this unnerving sense of influence that makes encounters so terrifying. Historical records suggest that Rainbow Curve has always been a dangerous road. In the late 1800s, miners and traders used these mountain paths to transport goods, and accidents were common. Some local legends claim the woman in red is tied to a tragedy from that era, young woman who fell to her death while trying to warn a stagecoach of an oncoming rockslide. Others suggest she may be the spirit of a grieving lover, doomed to roam the cliffs, pointing endlessly toward danger in a silent, eternal warning. Regardless of the story's origin, the consistency of sightings over decades lends credence to the theory that something supernatural resides here. Many witnesses describe the red-dressed woman's behavior as unnervingly deliberate. She does not speak, but her gestures are precise, always aimed at potential hazards. Some drivers report that after following her pointing, they feel a sudden jolt, a feeling of weightlessness, or a lurch in the vehicle, as though something unseen has shifted it. Others recount an immediate drop in temperature, a cold wind that seems to encircle the car, despite calm conditions elsewhere. These experiences leave travelers shaken, convinced that the apparition has an intimate understanding of the road's dangers, and perhaps a malevolent intent. Not every encounter ends in disaster. There are stories of drivers who, upon seeing her, ignored her gestures and managed to navigate the curves safely. In some accounts, the woman appears frustrated or sorrowful, shaking her head or vanishing in a swirl of fog. Witnesses often describe a lingering sense of unease afterward, the memory of her smile haunting their thoughts for days or weeks. Some claim they feel followed even after leaving the curve, as if the spirit continues to observe their journey. Paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers alike have visited Rainbow Curve, often setting up cameras and motion sensors. While clear photographic evidence is scarce, many reports capturing unexplained light flares or faint red streaks in long exposure shots. Motion sensors occasionally register movement that does not correspond to any human or animal presence. These subtle indicators reinforce the stories of ghostly activity and suggest that whatever haunts Rainbow Curve is not merely an optical illusion or collective imagination. Locals warn that the curve should not be taken lightly, especially at night or in poor weather conditions. They speak in hushed tones of the woman in red, urging travelers to respect the road and avoid following any strange gestures. Many believe she is not just a spirit warning of natural hazards, but a vengeful or mischievous entity, one that lures the curious or unsuspecting to the cliff's edge. The combination of steep terrain, treacherous turns, and spectral activity makes Rainbow Curve a uniquely frightening location. For those who travel it, Rainbow Curve offers a glimpse into a world where the past and present intermingle, and where human curiosity brushes against something truly unknown. The road's dangers are very real, yet the supernatural reports transform an already perilous bend into a place of legend. The woman in the red dress remains the focal point of these tales, a haunting reminder that some spirits linger, perhaps forever, at the edge of oblivion, smiling as they guide or misguide the living. 40-Mile Road, a winding stretch of highway in Fremont County, carries a reputation that chills even the most seasoned travelers. Originally a trade route in the 1800s, it served miners and traders transporting gold, silver, and supplies through the rugged mountain terrain. Over the decades, countless accidents, disappearances, and tragedies occurred along its length, creating the perfect conditions for stories of restless spirits. Today, 40 Mile Road is infamous for paranormal encounters, with witnesses reporting ghostly wagons, spectral miners, and strange, unexplainable sounds that echo through the night. Travelers on 40 Mile Road often recount seeing phantom wagons rolling along the narrow lanes, their wheels squeaking and groaning as if laden with heavy supplies. Some say the wagons appear out of nowhere, emerging from the fog or rounding blind curves, only to vanish when approached. The horses pulling these spectral carriages are described as pale and mist-like, with eyes that glow faintly in the dark. Many who have attempted to follow the wagons report a feeling of being led deeper into the woods or toward dangerous cliffs, only to find the vehicles have disappeared entirely. The most commonly reported figures are the ghostly miners who once traveled this route in search of fortune. Witnesses describe men in period clothing, their faces grimy with soot and exhaustion, trudging along the sides of the road or working as if engaged in some unseen task. Some travelers hear the clanging of pickaxes and shovels striking rock, accompanied by muffled cries and conversations in languages long forgotten. These sounds often appear just out of reach, growing louder as one approaches, then vanishing abruptly when investigated. The effect is deeply disorienting, leaving witnesses shaken and questioning their own senses. Many who have encountered these apparitions report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, as though unseen eyes are tracking every movement. The air along 40 Mile Road is said to grow heavy and cold, even in the summer months. Drivers describe sudden chills that creep through their vehicles, frost forming on windshields in the dead of night, and headlights flickering without reason. These environmental anomalies reinforce the idea that something otherworldly occupies the road, something tied to the tragic history of those who once traversed it. Stories abound of travelers who ignored the ghostly warnings and vanished without a trace. Locals tell of motorists who hear the spectral wagons approaching, feel compelled to follow, and are never seen again. Some say these travelers are pulled into the world of the dead, joining the ranks of the spectral miners, or trapped forever in the fog that frequently blankets the road. Others suggest that the spirits themselves are malevolent, luring the curious to their doom, ensuring that the tragedies of the past continue to accumulate along the route. Several witnesses report seeing lights moving across the hillsides, interpreted as lanterns carried by the miners. These lights bob and weave in ways that defy natural movement, disappearing behind trees or into thick fog. Some travelers have attempted to follow the lights, only to find themselves lost for hours, circling back to the same point where they first saw the apparition. In some cases, motorists report sudden mechanical failures, cars stalling, engines dying, and electronics flickering, often coinciding with the appearance of the ghostly miners or wagons. The psychological impact of traveling 40 Mile Road cannot be understated. Witnesses describe feelings of being watched, invisible hands brushing against them, and an almost magnetic pull toward certain points along the road. Some drivers report hallucinations of figures standing at the roadside, only to vanish when illuminated by headlights. Others recount seeing faces in the trees or shadowy shapes crossing the road in the periphery of vision, vanishing when directly observed. Historically, 40 Mile Road was fraught with danger even for the living. In its heyday, accidents were common, as wagons overloaded with ore and supplies navigated narrow paths lined with cliffs and rivers. Avalanches, rock slides, and treacherous winter conditions claimed many lives. Legends suggest that those who died on the road never truly left, their spirits wandering the path they once traveled, seeking something left unfinished. Locals recount tales passed down through generations, warning travelers to respect the road and the spirits that linger there. Paranormal investigators have visited 40 Mile Road, attempting to document the phenomena. Cameras and audio recorders have occasionally captured unexplained images and sound shadowy figures moving along the road, faint cries, and the metallic clang of unseen tools. However, no clear evidence has yet been produced, leaving the road's reputation largely based on first-hand accounts and oral tradition. For many, this only adds to the road's mystique, a place where belief and fear intertwine, making each journey a test of courage and caution. Despite the dangers, curiosity draws people to 40 Mile Road, ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and tourists hoping to glimpse the spectral miners and their wagons traverse the route, often at night or in foggy conditions. Those who venture too far or ignore the warnings sometimes disappear, adding new layers to the local legends. The road remains a living memory of the past, haunted by the toil, tragedy, and unresolved stories of those who traveled it centuries ago. Powder Canyon Road in Larimore County is known for its breathtaking vistas, winding paths, and the serene beauty of the surrounding Rockies. By day, it attracts tourists, hikers, and drivers eager to enjoy the sparkling river, towering pines, and rugged cliffs. But after dusk, the atmosphere changes entirely. Locals warn that the canyon is home to a sinister presence, a phantom black dog that stalks the winding road. Sightings have persisted for decades, and the legend has become so entrenched that visitors approach the road with caution, especially at night. Drivers along Powder Canyon Road frequently report seeing a large, black dog appear suddenly in the middle of the lane. Witnesses describe it as massive, with glowing red or yellow eyes that pierce through the darkness. It is said to move with unnatural speed, keeping pace with cars no matter how fast the driver accelerates. The first sighting is often enough to startle any motorist. Many recount the dog suddenly vanishing when they try to swerve or confront it, only to reappear moments later, further down the road. Its movements seem almost intelligent, as if it anticipates the driver's reactions. Those who encounter the black dog often experience a sense of dread before any visual confirmation. The air along the canyon road grows colder, and an oppressive feeling fills the vehicle. Headlights sometimes flicker or dim inexplicably when the creature is near. Drivers report that even when they slow to a stop or try to evade it, the dog seems to herd them along the narrow curves of the canyon. Some have swerved to avoid it, only to find their vehicle careening toward embankments or cliffs, narrowly avoiding or sometimes succumbing to disaster. This has given Powder Canyon Road a reputation as one of the most perilous night drives in the area. The legend extends beyond drivers. Hikers and campers along the canyon trails recount hearing eerie growls echoing through the trees long after sunset. The growls are deep and guttural, reverberating off the canyon walls in a way that seems almost sentient. Some have claimed to glimpse glowing eyes, peering at them from the shadows, always at a distance, but never retreating. The black dog appears to observe, following silently until it chooses to disappear. For many, the growls are enough to send them retreating back to the safety of their vehicles, hearts pounding and adrenaline surging. Historically, Powder Canyon has been the site of numerous accidents and disappearances. Long before modern roads, travelers and trappers would navigate the canyon trails with pack animals, often at great risk from steep cliffs and sudden weather changes. Legends suggest that the black dog is the spirit of a guardian or avenger, connected to those who perished along the canyon over the centuries. Some local folklore portrays it as a harbinger of death, appearing to those whose fate is sealed. Others interpret it as a restless spirit protecting its territory, warning trespassers with fear and near misses rather than direct harm. Encounters with the black dog are described in uncanny detail. Drivers often report that its eyes glow brighter in response to headlights, and that it sometimes seems to change size, appearing larger or smaller depending on the observer's angle. Hikers describe the growls as moving through the trees rather than originating from a single location, creating the impression that the creature is all around, unseen yet omnipresent. Some who have stopped to investigate the sound claim that it becomes silent the moment they exit their vehicles or step into the shadows, only to resume as they continue down the path. Those who survive a close encounter often speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched long after the road is clear. The black dog leaves no footprints, no scent, and no sign of its physical presence, yet its impact is palpable. Motorists describe seeing the lingering image of glowing eyes in the rearview mirror, feeling the lingering brush of an invisible force along the car, or hearing a low growl vibrating through the metal and air. These experiences have cemented the canyon's reputation as a place where the boundary between the natural and supernatural is thin, if not entirely absent. Paranormal enthusiasts have visited Powder Canyon Road to document the phenomenon. Cameras, night vision equipment, and audio recorders have occasionally captured fleeting glimpses of movement, faint glowing lights in the shape of a dog, and low guttural sounds. Yet, evidence remains inconclusive, lending an air of mystery to the legend. Local authorities warn against night travel for those unfamiliar with the road, citing not only the black dog stories, but also the inherent dangers of narrow curves, steep drops, and sudden wildlife crossings. Others accept it as a true supernatural presence, a guardian of the canyon, or a malevolent spirit punishing reckless travelers. Regardless of interpretation, the encounters are consistent. Drivers feel pursued. Hikers hear growls echoing in the darkness, and those who attempt to confront the apparition often find it gone when approached, leaving only fear and lingering adrenaline. Over time, Powder Canyon Road has attracted thrill seekers hoping for an encounter, as well as locals who treat the stories with a mix of reverence and fear. Ghost hunters, folklore enthusiasts, and adventurers share tales of narrow escapes, sudden chills, and encounters with the vanishing black dog. Its legend has become inseparable from the canyon itself, transforming a scenic drive into a nighttime trial of nerves, awareness, and courage. Bald Mountain Pass in Eagle County has long held a reputation for both breathtaking scenery and unnerving danger. The winding switchbacks climb sharply into the Rockies, offering drivers sweeping views of snow-capped peaks and dense alpine forests. By day, the pass is a marvel of natural beauty, drawing tourists, hikers, and photographers. But as evening falls and fog settles over the road, a far more sinister reputation emerges. Locals and travelers alike tell stories of ghostly figures, vanishing motorists, and cars that inexplicably break down, transforming the picturesque pass into one of Colorado's most feared haunted routes. The fog at Bald Mountain Pass is thick and persistent, rolling down the slopes and obscuring the hairpin turns. Drivers report sudden drops in visibility, as if the mist itself has a will of its own. In this veil of white, shadowy figures are said to appear on the road. Many describe them as miners, dressed in the garb of the 1800s, faces obscured by soot and shadows, lanterns clutched in calloused hands. These apparitions are silent but insistent, gesturing toward the edge of the road or beckoning for assistance. Some motorists stop, driven by instinct or compassion, only for the figures to vanish the moment they approach. Those who do stop are sometimes never seen again, leaving behind vehicles abandoned on the foggy switchbacks. Cars breaking down is another hallmark of Bald Mountain Pass. Engines stall without warning, headlights dim or flicker, and radios emit static or unintelligible whispers. Mechanics have inspected abandoned vehicles and found no evidence of mechanical failure, yet the pattern is repeated often enough to suggest something beyond ordinary explanation. Travelers recount the eerie sensation of the car losing power just as they approach one of the miners' apparitions, making it impossible to flee. Those who attempt to restart their vehicles sometimes find the engine revving but the car remaining motionless, as if the mountain itself is holding them in place. Witnesses report that the miners' apparitions are both tragic and ominous. Some appear trapped in the act of a long-forgotten accident, caught forever mid-step as they gesture desperately for help. Others seem to silently warn drivers of imminent danger, pointing toward treacherous turns or unstable edges. Yet the warning is double-edged. Stopping to assist can be deadly, while ignoring them risks the perilous curves of the pass. Drivers describe a sudden rush of cold air, the inexplicable feel of being watched, and a crushing sense of dread as the apparitions appear at multiple points along the fog-shrouded road. The history of Bald Mountain Pass adds a chilling dimension to these stories. During the gold and silver rushes of the 19th century, miners traveled the mountains with crude wagons and pack animals, navigating the treacherous paths to reach remote claims. Accidents were common, and countless lives were lost to rockslides, falls, and exposure. Folklore suggests that the spirits of these miners never left the pass, bound to the locations of their untimely deaths. Some say that their presence is strongest on nights when fog blankets the mountain, as the thin veil between the living and the dead allows them to return, wandering the roads they once traversed in life. Accounts of encounters are chillingly consistent. Drivers often report seeing a miner materialize suddenly in the beam of their headlights, lanterns swinging as if midst. When attempting to swerve or avoid the figure, they find their vehicles mysteriously unresponsive or feel an invisible force guiding them toward a particular spot. Hikers and photographers exploring the roadside report hearing faint clanging of pickaxes against rocks, murmurs of conversation, or the shuffle of boots on gravel. These sounds vanish when approached, leaving only the silence of the fog and the oppressive sensation of being followed. In some cases, abandoned vehicles provide the only evidence of disappearances. Cars are found with keys in the ignition, doors left ajar, and personal items scattered on the seats. No bodies are discovered, and no trace of the missing individuals is ever recovered. Paranormal investigators and local historians have documented dozens of such incidents, noting that the fog often lingers longer than natural conditions would dictate, as if preserving the spectral scene for another unfortunate traveler. The ghostly miners of Bald Mountain Pass have become a source of local lore, intertwined with warnings and cautionary tales. Longtime residents advise against traveling the pass after dark, recounting first-hand experiences of strange lights, unexplained engine failures, and fleeting figures. Ghost hunters and thrill-seekers venture up the switchbacks armed with cameras, night vision equipment, and audio recorders, hoping to capture evidence of the miners' spirits. Occasionally, they report flickering lanterns, shadows crossing the road, and cold pockets of air, reinforcing the eerie stories that have persisted for generations. Despite the warnings, the mountain's beauty continues to draw visitors. Many are unaware of the legends until it is too late, encountering the fog and the miners as night descends. The combination of steep cliffs, blind curves, and spectral figures makes Bald Mountain Pass a uniquely terrifying experience after dark. Those who pass through often feel a lingering unease, describing the sensation of unseen eyes watching their every move, or hearing whispers carried on the cold mountain air. Red Feather Lakes Road in Larimore County is a narrow, winding stretch of asphalt that has earned a chilling reputation among locals. Dubbed the Disappearers Curve, this remote mountain road is notorious for strange occurrences, unexplained vanishings, and a pervasive sense of being watched, stretching through dense pine forests and sharp bends along steep embankments. It seems harmless in daylight, a scenic route for travelers heading to mountain cabins or fishing spots. But after dusk, the road transforms. Fog drifts in from the nearby wetlands, the pines cast long, wavering shadows, and the air takes on an unnatural chill. Those who traverse it after dark often speak of whispers, fleeting figures, and a compelling sensation that something unseen is guiding or pushing them toward the edge. The most common and terrifying reports involve whispers carried on the wind. Travelers describe hearing voices, faint and almost melodic, seemingly emanating from the trees lining the road. They are soft at first, almost inviting, calling names, or murmuring for someone to come closer. Drivers often pause to listen, hypnotized by the uncanny sounds, only to feel a sudden, overwhelming compulsion to step out of the vehicle. Some claim to see shadowy shapes darting between the trunks, indistinct forms that vanish when approached. Locals warn that those who heed the voices rarely return. Muddy footprints are occasionally found along the roadside, leading away from the road and into the forest, only to disappear abruptly, as if the person never existed. The disappearances are not limited to pedestrians. Motorists report feeling a strange pull toward the curve itself, a sensation that the road is steering the vehicle. Some drivers attempt to maintain control, but their cars inexplicably stall or veer slightly, always toward the steep drop that runs alongside the most treacherous bend. Witnesses describe sudden drops in temperature inside their vehicles, a frosty chill that penetrates through jackets and blankets. Engine lights flicker, radios emit static, and some drivers even report hearing the whispering inside the car itself, as though the voices follow them no matter how far they flee. Hikers and bikers on Red Feather Lakes Road at night tell similar tales. While following the path, they sometimes hear footsteps that do not match their own, soft but deliberate, keeping pace with them. Shadows flit just at the edge of vision, never fully visible, yet always present. Some hikers describe the feeling of unseen hands brushing against their arms or shoulders, guiding them toward the curve where disappearances are most frequent. Others report a sensation of being observed, their every movement mirrored by something intangible in the dark. Even those who manage to leave the road quickly say the unease follows them, a lingering sense that the forest itself remembers their presence and reacts to it. Local lore suggests that the disappearances are tied to events long past. Some stories mention a mining camp that once existed near the bend, where workers vanished mysteriously, leaving tools and personal belongings behind. Others speak of travelers who were lured off the path by trickster spirits said to haunt the forest, seeking souls to trap forever in the trees. Regardless of the origin, the pattern is clear. The curve has claimed lives, vanished vehicles, and left behind an enduring fear that has persisted for generations. Those who have survived encounters on the road recount vivid, often contradictory details. Many say the trees seem to move subtly, shifting closer or closing in, while others insist they saw figures perched on branches or standing behind trunks, motionless yet impossibly aware. Some reports hearing the faint splash of water as though someone or something had stepped into the nearby streams, only to find the banks undisturbed. Drivers frequently mention an intense vertigo, a feeling of imbalance that seems to originate from the curve itself, forcing the mind to imagine danger just around the next bend. Photographers and paranormal investigators are drawn to Red Feather Lakes Road despite the danger. Night vision cameras often record orbs of light hovering near the forest floor or gliding along the curve. Some video footage captures misty shapes crossing the road, sometimes moving directly in front of a vehicle before fading into the darkness. Audio recordings occasionally capture whispers and footsteps that cannot be attributed to wind or wildlife. Even skeptics admit that the combination of vanishings, strange sounds, and disorienting environmental effects make this road uniquely eerie, earning it the title of the Disappearer's Curve. The road also has a psychological effect on travelers. Those who drive alone report an increasing sense of paranoia, as if unseen eyes follow them from one bend to the next. Time seems to distort. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours, and familiar landmarks appear to shift locations. Some visitors claim that compasses and GPS devices fail entirely in the area, leaving them unable to navigate away from the curve without significant effort. The combination of environmental manipulation and spectral phenomena has left many convinced that the forest surrounding the road is alive in some unnatural way. Despite warnings, tourists and thrill seekers continue to venture onto Red Feather Lakes Road. Drawn by curiosity or disbelief, many return with stories of whispers, cold drafts, and fleeting shadows, while others bring back photographs and video that defy explanation. The disappearances, however, remain an enduring cautionary tale, a reminder that curiosity can be fatal when faced with forces beyond understanding. Muddy footprints, abandoned cars, and vehicles found on the roadside without their owners continue to populate local news and folklore, reinforcing the road's fearsome reputation. Mount Evans, scenic byway, winding through Clear Creek County, is celebrated for its breathtaking vistas, alpine meadows, and dramatic switchbacks that climb to some of Colorado's highest elevations. By day, the road is a paradise for hikers, drivers, and photographers, offering panoramic views of jagged peaks, wildflower-strewn slopes, and snow-capped ridges. But beneath its natural beauty lies a darker, more sinister reputation. Locals speak in hushed tones about disappearances, inexplicable accidents, and a persistent presence that haunts the cliffs, especially during foggy or stormy conditions. The road has a history of vanishing travelers. Drivers report that, on certain stretches, The fog rolls in suddenly, obscuring the narrow asphalt and plunging visibility to near zero. The temperature drops sharply, and the wind howls down the canyons, creating the eerie impression that the cliffs themselves are alive. Several climbers and drivers have reportedly gone missing along these treacherous curves, often leaving their vehicles abandoned at odd angles or found weeks later in spots that seem impossible to reach. The circumstances suggest something beyond human error, as many of these disappearances occur on clear days or when trails are well. Witnesses tell of a spectral climber who appears near the most dangerous ledges. Descriptions vary, but the figure is consistently seen wearing tattered climbing gear, its movements deliberate and unnervingly calm. Some drivers claim that this apparition walks alongside stalled or stranded vehicles, silently gesturing or pointing toward the edge of the cliffs. Those who glimpse it feel an overwhelming sense of unease, as if the figure is guiding them toward a fate they cannot resist. While some manage to steer away in time, others report that the road seems to warp around them, narrowing unnaturally with guardrails that appear too low or absent altogether, creating the illusion that the vehicle is on the verge of tipping into the void. Hikers along the byway report similar encounters. Many describe hearing footsteps echoing behind them, even when no one else is on the trail. Others feel a presence brushing past or just out of view, accompanied by whispers that cannot be placed. Some swear they have glimpsed a figure on the ridge above, silhouetted against the fog, watching silently as they navigate narrow ledges. The sensation is often described as both oppressive and mesmerizing, a mix of dread and compulsion that drives people closer to danger without conscious intent. In certain spots, the wind carries faint calls or moans, voices that sound like distressed climbers calling for help, yet no one is ever found. The byway's treacherous curves contribute to its eerie reputation. Sharp switchbacks descend steep slopes with sheer drops on one side, often shrouded in mist. Drivers report that vehicles stall for no mechanical reason, headlights dim, and radios crackle with static or faint, unidentifiable voices. Some even claim their compass or GPS malfunctions, leaving them disoriented in areas they have previously traveled without issue. These anomalies seem concentrated near the cliffs where the spectral climber has been most frequently seen. Local legends suggest that the figure is a remnant of past tragedies, perhaps a climber who fell or perished decades ago, forever bound to the byway and compelled to lure others into the same fate. Eyewitness accounts also describe sudden changes in the environment. A sunny afternoon can transform into near-total darkness within moments. Rocks or debris appear where none were before, and wildlife retreats as if sensing an unseen predator. Some visitors have reported seeing shadows moving across ledges or the illusion of figures walking along cliff edges where there is no path. The combination of natural danger and paranormal influence leaves an impression that the mountain itself has a will, subtly nudging travelers toward the cliffs, guided by the ghostly presence of the spectral climber. Paranormal investigators have attempted to document these phenomena. Night vision cameras and motion sensors occasionally capture fleeting forms, crossing the road or climbing slopes without leaving footprints. Audio recordings sometimes reveal whispers or faint cries that cannot be attributed to wind or animals. In one report, a stranded driver filmed a misty figure walking alongside their vehicle for several seconds before vanishing when the camera angle shifted. These accounts reinforce the chilling idea that the byway is more than just a dangerous road. It is a place where past tragedies linger, leaving an imprint on the living. Local lore also suggests that those who ignore the warnings of the apparition are especially at risk. Travelers who refuse to yield to the figure or attempt to flee to quickly report a sensation of compulsion, as if the road itself is resisting them. Steering wheels feel unusually heavy, brakes respond sluggishly, and visibility is distorted. Some who reach safety describe an odd feeling that they were being watched even after leaving the byway, as though the spectral climber's presence extends beyond the cliffs, tracking those who survived. Despite the dangers and the stories, Mount Evans' scenic byway continues to attract thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many come for the breathtaking views and hiking opportunities, unaware or skeptical of the legends. Others deliberately seek out the byway at night, hoping to witness the spectral climber or experience the strange phenomena for themselves. Survivors consistently share the same warnings: maintain control, respect the cliffs, and never underestimate the feeling of being guided or lured by an unseen presence. Kushara Pass Road, winding through the rugged mountains of southern Colorado, is as beautiful as it is notorious. During the day, it offers breathtaking views of snow-capped peaks, dense forests, and valleys blanketed with wildflowers. But after sunset, this historic route transforms into a landscape of eerie legends and chilling encounters. Long ago, settlers used this road to escape harsh winters, transporting supplies and livestock through its winding paths. Today, travelers report that the history of hardship, survival, and loss has left an indelible mark on the area, manifesting as ghostly phenomena that continue to haunt the road. The most common and unsettling sightings involve spectral children. Many drivers recount seeing small figures darting across the asphalt at night, their laughter carrying eerily through the cold mountain air. The children often appear to be running in groups, playing along the roadside or chasing one another through patches of fog that roll in suddenly. Witnesses describe their faces as fleeting, almost blurred, and the figures vanish the instant headlights approach. The laughter is distinctive, high-pitched, playful, yet tinged with a hollow sadness that unsettles even the most skeptical travelers. These apparitions have caused more than fright. Several drivers have reported swerving suddenly to avoid the ghostly children, only to find themselves careening into roadside ditches, abandoned ravines, or steep embankments. Vehicles have been found abandoned, keys still in the ignition, with no sign of their owners nearby. Some locals believe that the spirits are drawn to those traveling after dark, mistaking modern vehicles for the wagons and sleds of the past. Others speculate that the children's spirits are trapped in the area, replaying the endless struggles of settlers who faced brutal winters and isolation along this treacherous route. In addition to the ghostly children, drivers have reported a host of other phenomena. Headlights flicker or dim inexplicably, engines stall without cause, and radios emit static punctuated by faint whispers. Some travelers swear they hear voices calling names, sometimes matching their own, echoing from the surrounding forest. Fog appears suddenly, reducing visibility to mere feet and creating the illusion that the road stretches endlessly, looping back upon itself. Those unfamiliar with the terrain often report losing their sense of direction entirely, convinced that they have been driven off course by some unseen force. Hikers and campers along the road have also encountered strange activity. Footprints appear in fresh snow or mud, leading into the trees but disappearing abruptly, as though the walkers vanished into thin air. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures watching from tree lines, keeping a distant but unnerving presence. The air is often described as heavy, carrying a chill even during relatively warm summer nights. These environmental anomalies reinforce the idea that Kushara Pass Road is more than just a dangerous route. It is a corridor where the past lingers, shaping the experiences of those who pass through. The legends extend beyond spectral children. Some travelers report seeing ghostly settlers struggling with wagons or sleds along the incline. Their expressions of exhaustion and fear painfully vivid. Lanterns appear suspended in midair, flickering as though carried by invisible hands, and the faint clatter of tools or hooves can be heard echoing off the cliffs. It is as if the hardships endured by those who originally traversed the pass are replayed nightly, tethered to the landscape itself. Locals often warn that the road carries the memory of tragedy and loss, and that travelers should proceed with caution after dusk. Paranormal investigators have attempted to document the hauntings with varying degrees of success. Night vision cameras and motion sensors occasionally capture faint, moving shapes along the roadside. Audio recordings sometimes reveal children laughing or whispers calling out unintelligible words. In one account, a parked vehicle recorded multiple orbs moving along the edge of the road, vanishing when the camera's focus shifted. Those skeptics attribute these occurrences to natural phenomena such as fog, animal movement, or optical illusions. The consistency of reports over decades has given the road a reputation as a hotspot for ghostly encounters. Despite the warnings, thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts continue to explore Kushara Pass Road. Many approach it deliberately at night, hoping to witness the spectral children or the ghostly settlers firsthand. Survivors consistently describe a feeling of compulsion, as if the road itself is guiding them toward encounters. Those who ignore the warnings or attempt to drive too quickly often report nemesis mechanical failures or disorienting experiences that make the mountain terrain seem impossibly treacherous. The $1 Million Highway in San Juan County, Colorado, is a road of extremes. Winding through the San Juan Mountains, it is as breathtaking as it is treacherous, with steep cliffs, hairpin turns, and dizzying drop-offs that seem to vanish into the clouds. By day, it draws tourists, adventurers, and photographers who come to marvel at the towering peaks, colorful foliage, and rugged wilderness. By night, however, it transforms into a corridor of shadows, whispered legends, and ghostly phenomena that have made it infamous among locals and travelers alike. For decades, the $1 Million Highway has been the site of mysterious happenings and eerie encounters. Many attribute these events to the ghosts of miners who worked the mountains in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These men endured harsh conditions, dangerous machinery, and unstable mines, many of which collapsed, taking their lives and leaving their spirits restless. Witnesses have reported seeing figures dressed in soiled overalls and wide-brimmed hats, crouched near cliff edges or peering from abandoned mining equipment. Sometimes, these apparitions appear briefly in a vehicle's headlights before vanishing as quickly as they appeared. Drivers describe a sense of being watched, as though the ghosts are silently urging caution along the road's perilous stretches. The stories extend beyond spectral miners. Travelers speak of ghostly passengers who appear in their cars, often as fleeting reflections in the rearview mirror or sudden figures in the passenger seat. One driver recalled picking up a young man at a curve near Red Mountain Pass. They exchanged no words, and within moments, the figure disappeared, leaving behind a chill that seemed to linger in the air. Others report hearing phantom car horns and the screech of tires where no other vehicles exist. On a road that requires absolute concentration to navigate safely, such sounds can be terrifyingly convincing, sometimes causing drivers to swerve or slam on brakes in panic. The highway's tragic history amplifies the sense of foreboding. Countless lives have been lost on its sharp curves and narrow ledges. Before modern guardrails were installed, vehicles frequently tumbled down steep embankments, and the mountainsides were littered with wreckage. Those who died are said to linger, replaying their final moments in spectral loops. Hikers and motorists occasionally report the faint echo of screams or the distant sound of metal scraping against rock, as if a phantom vehicle is careening off the edge. Locals warn that the spirits are not malevolent, but restless, compelled to retrace the moments of fear and loss that bound them to this landscape. Fog is another feature that heightens the road's eerie reputation. As clouds descend into the valleys, visibility drops dramatically, and the mountains appear to dissolve into a gray void. Within this mist, witnesses report shadows darting across the road and figures standing silently along the cliff edges. Some say these are miners searching for lost tunnels, while others insist they are travelers trapped in a spectral limbo. One frequent driver described passing a fog-shrouded bend and seeing a woman in period clothing standing by the guardrail. As he slowed, she turned to look directly at him, only to disappear when he blinked. The experience left him shaken, convinced that the highway preserves echoes of those who perished long ago. Another common tale involves the phenomenon known locally as the vanishing convoy. Multiple drivers have reported seeing a line of vehicles in their headlights that vanish into thin air before reaching a descent or curve. Some suggest these are the spirits of miners or travelers who met their end on the road. Others speculate that the highway itself warps perception, creating illusions that prey on tired or anxious drivers. Despite skepticism, the consistency of these reports over generations lends them an unsettling credibility. Local lore also points to the road's name, $1 Million Highway, as a spectral clue. While it originally referred to the cost of building the road, through treacherous terrain, or the value of the ore extracted from nearby mines, some believe it hints at the lives spent or lost in the mountains. Each curve, each cliff, may carry the memory of those who labored and died, their energy lingering long after the mines fell silent. Motorists traveling alone after dark are especially vulnerable, often reporting intense feelings of isolation and unease, as if the mountain itself is aware of every movement along its edges. Despite its danger, the Million-Dollar Highway continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost hunters set out at night with cameras and recorders, hoping to capture the flicker of a figure, the sound of phantom footsteps, or a sudden drop in temperature. Some claim success, reporting unexplained shadows or disembodied voices caught on audio. Others insist the highway is a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, where the past is never truly gone, and where travelers might catch a glimpse of the human cost embedded in the landscape. Driving the Million-Dollar Highway is both a privilege and a risk. Its beauty is undeniable, but those who venture along its curves are warned to respect both the physical danger and the spectral presence. Stories of ghostly miners, vanished travelers, and phantom passengers serve as a cautionary tale. On this road, the mountains remember, and the lost are never far away. Travelers who have experienced these hauntings speak of lingering impressions, sudden chills, and an unshakable sense that they were not alone. Whether legend or reality, the road commands respect, demanding careful attention and a willingness to acknowledge that some histories, some lives, never fully depart. Colorado 7, the winding stretch of road through Roosevelt National Park, near Estes Park, is renowned for its scenic beauty and serene wilderness. During the day, travelers and hikers are treated to the sight of towering pine trees, rocky outcrops, and distant mountain peaks bathed in sunlight. Wildlife thrives along the roadside, and the air is filled with the crisp scent of pine and the gentle rush of streams carving through the landscape. Yet, beneath this serene veneer lies a history of mysterious disappearances and unexplained phenomena that have given Colorado 7 a reputation as one of the most haunted roads in the state. Locals speak in hushed tones about the strange occurrences along this route, particularly after dusk. Hikers who venture into the dense forest report hearing voices calling their names. These calls often come from deep within the shadows of the trees, far from any trail or campsite. Some describe the voices as familiar and comforting, almost like friends or loved ones beckoning them forward. But those who answer, or even turn to investigate, often vanish without a trace. Their shoes, backpacks, or personal items are sometimes found hours or days later, lying undisturbed on the forest floor, untouched by weather or decay, as if time itself has ignored them. The disappearances are not limited to hikers. Drivers along Colorado 7 have reported inexplicable phenomena as well. On foggy nights, headlights catch movement along the roadside figures that vanish when approached, leaving only the lingering feeling that someone is watching. Some motorists report sudden cold drafts inside their vehicles, doors that lock or unlock without touch, and phantom footsteps echoing in the distance. These events occur without warning, often accompanied by a sensation of being followed by an unseen presence that seems both patient and deliberate. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators have documented numerous encounters on Colorado. 7 audio recordings have captured faint whispers calling names, sometimes repeating the same phrases over and over. Night vision cameras have recorded shadowy forms darting between the trees, disappearing into the dense foliage before anyone can get a clear view. Some footage even shows objects, a backpack, a hat, a water bottle, seemingly moving on their own along trails, as if guided by invisible hands. While skeptics suggest these experiences can be explained by natural sounds, wildlife, or optical illusions, the consistency of reports over decades makes Colorado 7 a place of genuine mystery. Those who have survived encounters on the road describe a pervasive sense of unease, as though the forest itself is aware of their presence. Hikers report feeling invisible eyes tracking them through the trees, and drivers describe sudden chills that make their skin crawl. Even during daylight hours, some say the atmosphere is heavy, and the forest seems quieter than it should be, as if it is holding its breath. Many speculate that the spirits haunting Colorado 7 are not malevolent, but restless, trapped between worlds, and desperate to interact with the living. Local legends suggest that Colorado 7's hauntings date back to the early days of Roosevelt National Park. Stories tell of lost prospectors, hikers, and settlers who vanished without explanation in the dense wilderness. Some accounts speak of indigenous spirits guarding sacred areas of the forest, their presence protective yet unnerving to those who wander too far. Others suggest that the road itself exists in a liminal space, a threshold between the living and the dead, where time and distance lose meaning, and those who stray from the path risk becoming part of the forest's eternal mystery. Many hikers have reported repeated experiences along the road. Some claim to hear their names called in multiple locations, voices echoing from unseen directions, as if the forest itself is alive with whispers. Objects left along trails, water bottles, hats, hiking poles, sometimes vanish, only to reappear in completely different areas. Witnesses report sudden, inexplicable feelings of vertigo or disorientation, making them question the safety of their route. Even experienced outdoorsmen admit to a sense of dread that grows stronger the longer they remain in the area, a feeling that the forest is not just silent and still, but actively observing. Vehicles traveling Colorado 7 at night also report unusual phenomena. Headlights reveal figures standing along the shoulder, often dressed in clothing from decades past, disappearing when drivers slow down to look. Mirrors occasionally reflect passengers who were never there. And radios sometimes pick up static-laced voices, repeating names or phrases. Tires have been known to skid on dry pavement for no apparent reason, and sudden fog or wind gusts create conditions that seem almost supernatural. Those who have narrowly avoided accidents often describe the road as alive, as though it reacts to the presence of outsiders, manipulating visibility, sound, and perception. Despite the dangers and eerie reputation, Colorado 7 attracts thrill-seekers, paranormal investigators, and hikers who are drawn to the mysteries of the forest. Many come hoping to witness the phenomena firsthand, while others visit in search of adventure, unaware of the risks. Survivors consistently report a mixture of awe and fear, noting that the road and forest seem to exist in a space outside of normal time and logic. They speak of inexplicable disappearances, of objects that move or vanish, of voices that call without source, and of a persistent sense that the forest remembers every person who walks its paths. Red Hill Road, a seemingly quiet suburban street in the Denver area, carries a reputation that belies its peaceful appearance. During the day, it appears as any typical road, lined with modest homes, trimmed lawns, and tree-shaded sidewalks. Yet, locals know a darker history lurks beneath its serene exterior. Beginning in the 1920s, Red Hill Road became the site of numerous unexplained disappearances. Travelers driving along its narrow bends often vanished without a trace, their vehicles later found abandoned or left empty along the roadside. Over the decades, these early incidents gave rise to whispered tales of ghostly carriages, spectral figures, and inexplicable sensations that continue to haunt those who venture along this stretch of pavement. Witnesses report encountering strange occurrences that seem to defy explanation. One of the most common experiences involves ghostly carriages appearing late at night or during foggy evenings. Drivers describe seeing old-fashioned, horse-drawn carriages silently gliding along the road, with no horses visible, wheels that barely touch the pavement, and occupants shrouded in shadow. The apparitions often appear to pass right through vehicles or vanish when approached, leaving behind an uneasy stillness and the echo of distant hooves that fade too quickly to trace. Many claim that during these encounters, the air suddenly grows frigid, and the smell of damp earth and horse sweat fills the car, despite no visible source. Pedestrians walking alone along Red Hill Road often report chilling sensations as well. Some describe the feeling of cold hands resting on their shoulders, even when no one else is nearby. Others hear whispers, faint and indistinct, that seem to come from just beyond their line of sight, carried along the evening breeze or echoing off the nearby trees. It is common for walkers to feel as though they are being silently followed, with footsteps matching their pace on the empty sidewalk. These sensations tend to grow stronger as one nears the infamous bend where the earliest disappearances occurred, suggesting a lingering presence tied to the history of the area. Local lore suggests that the spirits haunting Red Hill Road are the restless echoes of those lost in the 1920s. Some stories claim that the vanished travelers never truly left, trapped along the road by unresolved tragedy. Reports describe faint, shadowy figures standing at the roadside, glimpsed in peripheral vision, only to vanish when looked at directly. Others speak of sudden glimpses of figures stepping from the trees or fog, sometimes seen gesturing toward the bend or the horizon before fading into mist. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that this area exists as a liminal space, where the living brush against the lingering energy of past events, creating a corridor for the unresolved to manifest in subtle yet disturbing ways. The bend in Red Hill Road has become the focal point of these supernatural reports. Witnesses describe cars stalling inexplicably as they approach, engines dying without mechanical cause, and dashboard lights flickering erratically. Others report feeling a sudden weight or force pressing down on their vehicles, as if the road itself is resisting passage. Hikers or joggers along the roadside recount similar experiences: sudden dizziness, inexplicable chills, and the sensation that unseen eyes are observing their every step. It is at this bend that the cold hands on shoulders, phantom whispers, and glimpses of ghostly carriages are most frequently reported. Paranormal investigators who have visited Red Hill Road document a range of unusual phenomena. Audio recordings capture faint whispers, often repeating phrases like "don't follow" or "stay back," though no voices are audible to the naked ear. Video cameras set up along the bend occasionally record indistinct shadow figures or flashes of light moving across the road, appearing and disappearing too quickly to be explained by passing vehicles or natural light sources. Temperature readings often drop several degrees, creating localized cold spots where no drafts or airflow exists. Some investigators claim that these signs point to residual energy, the imprint of fear, confusion, and tragedy left by those who disappeared decades ago. The road has also earned a reputation for its ability to unsettle even the most skeptical visitors. Drivers who spend extended time on Red Hill Road at night describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, a feeling that grows heavier the longer they remain in the bend. Objects inside vehicles sometimes shift or rattle without cause, and mirrors occasionally reflect fleeting figures that vanish when glanced at directly. Pedestrians report sudden disorientation, finding themselves a block or two away from where they thought they were, as though the road subtly manipulates perception. Some claim that stepping onto the road without caution invites misfortune, a warning that seems to persist from the tragedies of the 1920s. Despite its haunted reputation, Red Hill Road continues to draw attention from thrill seekers, paranormal investigators, and those curious about its storied past. Many visitors approach cautiously, aware of the tales but eager to experience the strange phenomena for themselves. Survivors of encounters consistently report a mixture of fear and awe, noting that the road's eerie qualities seem more pronounced at night or during foggy weather, when shadows stretch long and visibility is reduced. For these individuals, the road is not merely a suburban stretch of asphalt, but a corridor where the living touch the echoes of the past, a place where the vanished may still linger, and ghostly carriages glide silently past. The San Juan Skyway, winding through the rugged peaks of southwestern Colorado, is renowned for its breathtaking views and treacherous curves. By day, the road offers sweeping vistas of snow-capped mountains, dense forests, and sparkling rivers cutting through deep canyons. But as dusk falls, the Skyway takes on a far darker character. Thick fog often descends without warning, cloaking the road in a dense gray shroud that disorients travelers. In these conditions, the road's haunted reputation comes alive, and locals warn that visitors are not merely facing the perils of steep cliffs and narrow passages. They may encounter spirits who have lingered for over a century. The spectral activity on the San Juan Skyway is most commonly linked to the miners who once worked in the countless gold and silver mines that dotted the surrounding mountains. These men endured dangerous conditions, from collapses and gas explosions to bitter winters and isolation. Tragedy claimed many lives, and it is said that their restless spirits never left the area. Travelers recount eerie encounters where ghostly figures emerge from the fog, dressed in the tattered clothing of miners, lanterns glowing dimly in their hands. These apparitions often point silently toward paths that no longer exist or toward steep cliff edges, sending chills down the spines of those who see them. Witnesses describe the figures as motionless yet impossibly commanding, their eyes seeming to pierce through the mist as though silently urging onlookers to follow or to warn them away. Drivers report their compasses and GPS devices malfunctioning as they navigate the skyway after dark. The fog seems to thicken around bends and hairpin turns, reducing visibility to a few feet. Many describe sudden chills and a feeling of being watched, as if invisible eyes track every movement. Ghostly miners have been seen standing beside abandoned vehicles, silently gesturing at the driver, only to vanish the moment anyone tries to approach. Some travelers recount instances where they follow the figure's gaze or direction, only to find the road abruptly ending at a cliff or a path that no longer exists. Those who resist the urge to follow often feel an intense pressure, a sense of being nudged forward by unseen forces, compelling them toward danger. Hikers along the San Juan Skyway have had similar encounters. The mountains, dense forests, and steep slopes seem to echo with the sounds of the past. Footsteps crunch along paths where no one walks, voices whisper unintelligible warnings, and lantern-like glows flicker between the trees. Some hikers claim to have seen miners emerge from the fog, carrying pickaxes, their faces etched with suffering, and then disappear when approached. Others report hearing distant hammering, as if someone is at work in a long-abandoned mine, even when they are miles away from any known shafts. The persistent sense of being observed can drive even the most experienced outdoorsmen to turn back, retreating to areas of the road where the fog and spirits seem less aggressive. Local legends suggest that the ghosts on the San Juan Skyway feed off fear. Those who panic or act recklessly are often the ones who vanish entirely. Stories abound of travelers who ignored warnings or drove too fast in the fog, only to disappear without a trace. Their vehicles are sometimes found abandoned, keys still in the ignition, doors open, and personal belongings scattered, as though the occupants simply evaporated into the mist. Some theorists argue that the miners' spirits are bound to the mountain by trauma and anger, their energy manifesting in ways that exploit human fear and hesitation. Others claim the phenomenon is a residual haunting, an imprint of past tragedies replaying itself for anyone vulnerable enough to witness it. Paranormal investigators visiting the San Juan Skyway document a range of strange occurrences. Audio recordings frequently capture faint murmurs, hammering, or the sound of chains clinking, even when no one else is present. Video footage sometimes shows hazy, human-like shapes moving through the fog, flickering in and out of view, with no discernible entry or exit points. Thermographic cameras reveal sudden drops in temperature, localized cold spots, and streaks of heat or energy moving along the roadway and cliff edges. Some investigators believe that the combination of natural mountain fog and residual emotional energy creates a liminal space, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin enough for the spectral miners to manifest. Even those who drive cautiously during the day report inexplicable sensations. Shadows may flit across rearview mirrors, and travelers occasionally feel a touch on their arms or shoulders, as if a ghostly hand has brushed past. At sunset, the fog rolls in faster, and the skyway's infamous bends and narrow passages take on an almost otherworldly quality. The ghostly miners appear more frequently, sometimes clustered in groups along cliff edges, or standing motionless on bridges that no longer serve their original purpose. Witnesses describe a feeling of dread, an unshakable certainty that the road itself is alive, and that missteps could draw the attention of forces unseen. The San Juan Skyway continues to attract both thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many come armed with cameras, audio recorders, and thermal imaging devices, hoping to capture evidence of the miners and other spirits said to haunt the route. Survivors of encounters consistently report a mix of awe and fear, describing experiences that linger long after leaving the mountains. For them, the road is more than a scenic byway. Is a corridor where past tragedies replay themselves, a place where spectral miners emerge from the fog and the living, are reminded of the fine line between safety and the unknown. Old Stage Road, winding through the rugged terrain near Colorado Springs, Colorado, is a road steeped in history, mystery, and chilling legends. Originally a vital mail route during the 19th century, it connected remote settlements, carrying letters, parcels, and news across the harsh Colorado landscape. Its role in connecting communities gave it prominence, but its isolation also made it a place where danger and tragedy often struck. Today, the road is quiet and largely forgotten, yet those who venture along it at night speak of eerie experiences that refuse to fade from memory. The most enduring legend associated with Old Stage Road centers on a spectral coachman who met a violent end. In the late 1800s, during a routine mail run, the coachman's stage was ambushed by robbers seeking gold and valuables. Witnesses from nearby settlements recounted that the attack was swift and brutal. The coachman, loyal to his duty and his cargo, resisted, but he was ultimately overwhelmed and killed. His horse, said to be a strong and spirited animal, bolted into the night, carrying the lifeless body along the winding road before collapsing. The robbers vanished into the mountains, and the coachman's death became a cautionary tale whispered in local taverns. Over the decades, Old Stage Road became known as a haunted corridor. Particularly in the winter months when snow blankets the landscape, locals and visitors alike report sightings of a lone coach drawn by a ghostly horse that runs as if possessed. The most unnerving aspect of these encounters is the absence of footprints in the snow. Travelers describe seeing the horse's hooves pound against the ground, yet the snow remains undisturbed, as though the apparition moves outside the natural laws of the world. Some witnesses have reported that the coachman sits rigidly on the seat, cloaked in shadows, eyes fixed forward with a stern expression. The atmosphere along the road changes palpably when this ghostly scene appears. Temperatures drop suddenly, and a sense of dread settles over the observer. Many stories emphasize the danger of following the spectral coach. Locals warn that those who attempt to chase the apparition risk vanishing entirely. One account tells of a young man traveling home from Colorado Springs late at night. He spotted the glowing outline of the horse and stage, black against the moonlit snow. Entranced, he followed along the winding road, calling out, but the coachman neither spoke nor looked back. Hours later, his friends reported him missing. Despite extensive searches, no trace of him was ever found. Such stories have reinforced the road's reputation, warning travelers that curiosity can be deadly. The phenomenon is not limited to visual sightings. Drivers and hikers report hearing the rhythmic clip-clop of hooves echoing through the night, even when no stage is in sight. Some have claimed to hear the coachman's voice shouting, cursing, or calling out warnings in a tone that seems to come from everywhere at once. Others speak of feeling sudden gusts of icy wind, or being brushed by a presence that cannot be seen. One woman recounted stopping her car when the sounds grew so loud she feared the spectral horse might collide with her vehicle. She watched as a black shape darted across the road ahead, gone before she could react, leaving only silence and an overwhelming sense of unease. The road's geography contributes to its eerie reputation. Twisting through dense forests, rocky hills, and steep inclines, Old Stage Road is already perilous in daylight. At night, shadows stretch unnaturally, and the twists of the terrain obscure views, creating the perfect environment for the imagination to run wild or for the supernatural to manifest. The legend of the coachman may have grown from these natural hazards, but eyewitness accounts suggest a presence far more tangible than mere imagination. Those who frequent the road, particularly hunters, hikers, and paranormal enthusiasts, insist the phenomena are real and consistent, appearing repeatedly in the same sections of the road. Local historians note that the story of the stagecoach may be intertwined with other tragedies on the road. Beyond the infamous robbery, travelers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries often fell victim to the harsh winter weather. Treacherous turns and isolated conditions, bodies of the lost were sometimes never recovered, leading to lingering spirits who wander the path in search of the warmth and safety denied to them in life. Some believe the coachman's ghost is bound not only by loyalty to his duties, but by the unfinished business of those who perished alongside him or nearby. Every hoot of an owl, every crunch of snow underfoot, could be an echo of the past, replaying tragedies that never truly ended. The legend of the old stage road coachman has inspired countless thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and paranormal investigators to explore the area. Armed with cameras, night vision equipment, and recorders, they attempt to capture the spectral horse and coach. Some report catching glimpses of shadowy figures moving against a tree line, or a glowing outline that vanishes when approached. Audio recordings occasionally pick up unexplained noises, hoofbeats, a whip cracking, or voices calling through the cold air. Despite these efforts, no one has been able to conclusively document the apparition in a way that dispels the mystery, leaving the road shrouded in legend and fear. For modern travelers, Old Stage Road is both a cautionary tale and a test of courage. Daytime trips reveal only the natural beauty of Colorado's wilderness, with snow-covered peaks, pine forests, and serene valleys. Yet as darkness falls, the road seems to transform. A visitor may glimpse movement from the corner of their eye, hear the haunting clatter of hooves, or sense the cold, unyielding presence of the coachman. Locals insist that respect is crucial. This is not a place for reckless curiosity. The road holds memories of loyalty, courage, and tragedy, and those memories, it seems, still ride along its winding paths. Chimney Rock Road in Montezuma County is renowned for its breathtaking vistas, ancient rock formations, and winding turns that carve through the rugged landscape. By day, it is a picturesque drive, lined with towering cliffs and scattered pine trees, offering views that stretch for miles across mesas and valleys. Yet beneath its natural beauty lies a dark and unsettling history, one that has left a lingering presence along the route. For generations, travelers have reported strange and unexplainable phenomena: flickering campfires where no one sits, voices whispering from the rocks, and sudden chills that seem to follow visitors like an invisible hand. Many locals and explorers believe the road is haunted, a crossroads of restless spirits from the past. The road's legend is rooted in its history as both a travel route for early settlers and a sacred place for native tribes. Centuries ago, indigenous people used the cliffs and rock formations as lookout points and ceremonial grounds. Later, settlers traversed the same path, establishing small camps along its length. Conflicts, tragic accidents, and sudden deaths during harsh winters gave rise to stories of restless spirits that refused to leave the land. Even today, hikers and drivers report seeing ghostly campfires flickering on ridges or in meadows where no trace of fire exists. Some describe the faint smell of smoke mingling with the crisp mountain air, only to vanish when approached. Travelers often describe feeling an unseen pull as they navigate the winding road. Shadows flicker across cliffs, suggesting movement where none should be, and travelers sometimes feel as if they are being guided or misled off the path. Many claim to have seen fleeting figures, half glimpsed in the twilight, disappearing when they blink or turn to face them. The figures are described as both native and settler in appearance, wearing traditional garb or 19th century clothing, and they seem to linger near the edges of the road, silently watching those who pass. Some hikers report that these ghostly presences will suddenly vanish, leaving only the sound of footsteps echoing in the rock formations. One of the most unsettling aspects of Chimney Rock Road is the way the spirits are said to interact with travelers. Witnesses describe being drawn toward rock crevices, narrow paths, and steep slopes by an invisible force. People report an almost hypnotic sensation, a subtle tug urging them toward danger. Those who resist often feel icy hands brush against their arms or hear whispers calling their names. In several accounts, travelers have disappeared entirely, leaving behind only abandoned belongings. a water bottle, a backpack, or footprints that abruptly end at the edge of a rock ledge. Local legend warns that the spirits lure people into these natural traps, as if repeating tragedies that occurred long ago. Sightings are not limited to fleeting glimpses. Campers and drivers have reported hearing voices in languages long forgotten, echoing across the canyon walls. Some speak of laughter and singing, while others hear hushed warnings or cries of distress. On particularly foggy evenings, figures are said to emerge from the mists, native warriors, settlers, or children from long-vanished camps. These apparitions are often accompanied by cold drafts and a heavy atmosphere that presses against travelers, as though the air itself carries the memories of those who perished along the road. Some drivers report a sudden inability to control their vehicles as the road seems to bend and twist unnaturally, urging them toward cliffs or hidden crevices. Paranormal enthusiasts who have investigated Chimney Rock Road have documented strange phenomena with cameras and audio equipment. Night vision footage sometimes captures glowing forms near rock faces, while thermal imaging shows cold spots forming in open areas with no wind. Recordings frequently reveal unexplained footsteps, rustling sounds, and faint whispers that cannot be explained by wildlife or natural echoes. Many investigators believe the energy stems from both the tragedy of lost travelers and the spiritual significance of the land for native tribes. It is thought that these energies combine, creating residual hauntings that replay over time, particularly under the cover of fog and darkness. Locals maintain a wary respect for Chimney Rock Road. Longtime residents warn against driving or hiking there after sunset, citing numerous disappearances and near misses. They advise staying on the main road, avoiding areas near rock crevices, and never chasing after strange lights or figures. Stories abound of travelers who ignored these warnings, only to vanish, leaving families and authorities puzzled and unequipped to explain the circumstances. Even those who return often speak of a lingering sense of being watched, as though some unseen presence continues to follow them long after they leave the area. The road also serves as a reminder of the blending of histories. The sacred presence of native tribes and the tragic encounters of early settlers converge in the landscape. Some witnesses interpret the flickering campfires as echoes of ceremonial fires or abandoned settler camps, repeating nightly as the spirits relive their last moments. Others see the shadows along cliffs and trails as guardians, warning travelers of the dangers hidden in the terrain. Despite these interpretations, the prevailing consensus is clear. Chimney Rock Road is not just a route through scenic wilderness. It is a place where the past has left an indelible mark, where spirits linger, and where the boundary between the living and the dead becomes thin. Black Hawk Road, nestled in the rugged hills of Gilpin County, Colorado, is a road steeped in history, legend, and mystery, winding through steep valleys and dense forests. It was once a lifeline for miners seeking gold and gamblers chasing fortune. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the road connected booming mining towns and fledgling gambling settlements, carrying men and women eager for wealth and excitement. The road's significance, however, came at a cost. Narrow paths, sharp curves, and the ever-present danger of the wilderness made travel perilous, and many who ventured along it were lost to accidents, misfortune, or sometimes something far stranger. Today, Black Hawk Road is known not just for its scenic beauty, but for the ghostly echoes of its past. Locals and travelers alike speak of encounters that defy explanation. After sunset, the road transforms. Many who drive its length at night report hearing faint music carried on the wind, piano notes, the clink of glasses, laughter echoing as if from a long-abandoned saloon. The melodies are sweet and inviting, drawing drivers deeper into the twisting, darkened road. Yet those who follow the sounds often find themselves in peril, and in some cases, vanish without a trace. One of the most persistent legends tells of motorists disappearing after hearing this music. Cars have been discovered abandoned on the roadside, engines still running, keys in the ignition, but the drivers nowhere to be found. Some vehicles are found in the exact position they were last seen, as though the drivers had simply stepped out for a moment, yet extensive Searches reveal no footprints, no signs of struggle, nothing to indicate where the missing travelers went. The phenomenon has sparked countless rumors, from hauntings by miners and gamblers who died along the road. Two more sinister suggestions that the road itself is a trap, a threshold where the past and present collide. Eyewitness accounts paint a vivid and unsettling picture. A trucker once reported rounding a sharp bend near an old mining site and hearing piano music drifting through the trees. As he slowed to listen, the melody grew clearer, accompanied by laughter and the faint sound of voices speaking in hurried conversation. He glimpsed shadowy figures seated at tables, glasses raised, but when he blinked, they had vanished. Startled, he accelerated, only to find his radio playing static and a cold wind sweeping through the cab. He arrived at the next town shaken, unable to explain the eerie experience, convinced that he had glimpsed the past alive on the road. Other travelers report a more direct encounter. Some have seen fleeting shadows move along the roadside, figures dressed in period clothing of miners and gamblers, carrying tools or cards, pausing to glance toward passing vehicles. These apparitions are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, strange mists, or the sensation of being watched. Many who have experienced these phenomena describe an overwhelming compulsion to follow the sounds, even when aware of the danger. Those who give in sometimes vanish entirely, their vehicles later discovered abandoned, the occupants gone as though they had stepped into another world. Theories abound regarding the cause of these disappearances and apparitions. Paranormal experts suggest that Black Hawk Road is a locus of residual energy, a place where intense human emotion and historical events left a lasting imprint. The thrill of gambling, the desperation of miners, the accidents and deaths along the road, all may have combined to create a space where the past is not entirely gone. Some believe that the road itself acts as a bridge, momentarily pulling the living into these echoes, especially when the conditions are right: darkness, fog, and the deep quiet of night. Locals offer their own warnings. They advise that no one should travel Black Hawk Road after dark alone. Those familiar with the road know its curves and turns, but even they admit that the supernatural experiences make navigating it at night an entirely different ordeal. Stories circulate of drivers who, after hearing the inviting music or glimpsing figures along the roadside, felt an almost magnetic pull to follow, only to return later, disoriented, or not at all. Some say that the spirits are not malevolent, but bound to the road, endlessly replaying the lives and moments that define the area's history. Others warn that curiosity itself can be dangerous, luring travelers into the same fate that befell countless souls before them. The abandoned vehicles discovered along Black Hawk Road add a chilling layer to the lore. In some cases, cars are found in seemingly normal positions, parked on the shoulder or just off the pavement, as if the driver had stepped out briefly. Keys remain in the ignition, lights may still be on, and personal items are sometimes left inside. Search parties, law enforcement, and locals have scoured the surrounding forests and hills, yet often find no trace of the missing individuals. Over time, these mysterious vanishings have become intertwined with the tales of music, laughter, and shadowy figures, creating a legend that continues to intrigue and terrify. Even in daylight, Black Hawk Road holds an air of quiet menace. The landscape itself is dramatic. Cliffs rise abruptly, and dense pine forests obscure the horizon. The remnants of mining operations and old gambling halls stand as silent witnesses to a bygone era, adding to the road's eerie atmosphere. Visitors often report an unshakable sense of being watched, as though the spirits of the past linger, observing the living. When night falls, that sense transforms into something more tangible, and the road becomes a corridor where history refuses to rest. Mount Princeton Road, in Chaffee County, Colorado, winds through a rugged landscape of towering peaks, lush forests, and steaming hot springs. By day, the route is famous for its natural beauty and the thermal pools that attract visitors from across the state. Families soak in the warm waters, hikers pause to rest their feet, and photographers capture the panoramic views of the surrounding mountains. But as night falls, Mount Princeton Road transforms into something far more sinister. Locals whisper of a ghostly figure that appears in the hot springs after dark, a specter that lures travelers with the promise of warmth and relief, only for some to vanish without a trace. The legend of Mount Princeton Road dates back over a century. Early settlers and miners first discovered the area's natural hot springs, and it soon became a place of rest for weary travelers and a retreat for those seeking healing in the mineral-rich waters. Yet, the road itself was treacherous. Narrow and winding, it cuts through dense forests and climbs steep slopes, with cliffs and sudden drop-offs that claimed lives long before modern safety measures. Those who perished along the way are said to haunt the area, particularly the pools, drawn to the same warm waters that once comforted them in life. Over time, stories emerged of a female figure appearing in the pools, her form shimmering in the steam, beckoning passers-by closer. Many reports describe the figure as a woman in a flowing dress, standing waist-deep in the thermal waters, her hair wet and clinging to her shoulders. Witnesses often note an unnatural glow surrounding her, as if the light of the moon reflects off her skin differently than the night around her. The apparition reportedly raises her arms or gestures toward the water, and anyone who approaches claims to feel a sudden chill despite the warmth of the hot springs. Travelers recount strange sensations when near the apparition. Many report feeling a sudden tug, as though invisible hands pull them toward the water. Others describe hearing faint whispers or a melodic song that floats across the pools, drawing them closer. Footsteps on the surrounding gravel may echo without source, and reflections in the steaming water sometimes show figures that vanish when observed directly. Several hikers and drivers have vanished entirely after encountering the ghost, leaving behind only belongings or vehicles parked along the roadside. Local authorities and historians note that while disappearances are rare, the legend has persisted due to consistent reports over decades. In addition to sightings, Mount Princeton Road hosts other paranormal phenomena. Many visitors report their car engines stalling or headlights flickering when approaching the pools at night. Cold drafts sweep across the road, sometimes accompanied by the faint scent of sulfur from the springs, even when no wind blows. Some hikers describe seeing footprints in the mud around the hot springs that vanish moments later, as if erased by an unseen hand. Photographs taken after dark occasionally reveal blurred figures or glowing orbs hovering above the water, further cementing the area's haunted reputation. Locals have long offered warnings to travelers. It is said that those who follow the apparition into the pools are never seen again, their fate unknown. Some speculate that the spirit belongs to a woman who drowned or suffered a tragedy long ago, forever bound to the waters where her life ended. Others believe she is a guardian of the hot springs, a protective entity who punishes those who approach too closely after nightfall. Folklore suggests that the pools themselves carry residual energy, drawing in souls from the living and leaving only emptiness behind. Paranormal investigators and thrill seekers have tried to document the phenomena at Mount Princeton Road. Infrared cameras and audio equipment often capture unusual readings, temperature drops, unexplained sounds, and fleeting shapes that vanish upon approach. Some recordings pick up soft singing or murmuring, distinct from wind or wildlife. Investigators note that the spectral figure appears intermittently, often only during specific atmospheric conditions, such as foggy nights or during full moons, enhancing the mystique of the haunting. Despite the danger, the allure of Mount Princeton Road remains strong. Travelers are drawn by the combination of natural beauty, warm mineral waters, and the chilling legend that promises a brush with the supernatural. Local businesses capitalize on the story, offering guided day tours and historical accounts, while warning visitors to respect the road and the pools after dark. Those who follow these precautions tend to return safely, often with stories of strange sounds, cold spots, or glimpses of the spectral figure at a distance. The legend of the ghostly woman in the hot springs serves as a reminder that Mount Princeton Road is more than just a scenic route. It is a place where history, tragedy, and mystery converge. Some see the haunting as a warning to respect the natural power of the area and the spirits of those who came before. Others regard it as an invitation to witness something beyond the ordinary, a fleeting glimpse of a world where the living and the dead brush shoulders along the winding mountain road. Echo Canyon Road, winding through the rugged terrain of Jefferson County, Colorado, is a narrow and twisting passage that has long captured the imagination of locals and travelers alike. Its steep walls, carved by centuries of water and erosion, create a natural amphitheater, a canyon where every sound resonates and lingers far longer than it should. By day, the road is a quiet and scenic route, flanked by towering cliffs, dense pine forests, and jagged rock formations. By night, however, it becomes a place of eerie whispers, ghostly reflections, and unexplained disappearances, earning it a reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted roads. Legends tell that Echo Canyon amplifies the voices of the long dead. Whispers float along the asphalt as if carried by the wind, sometimes sounding like distant conversations, other times resembling urgent warnings or cries for help. Drivers often describe the unsettling sensation that the canyon itself is alive, aware of every movement and every sound. The acoustics make even the faintest noise seem unnaturally close. A falling branch, a passing car, or even a human whisper can reverberate along the cliffs, merging with the spectral echoes that have lingered for decades. Many who drive after dark report hearing voices that are intelligible yet impossible to locate, whispers that seem to come from every direction at once. The most chilling phenomenon reported along Echo Canyon Road involves mirrors. Travelers speak of seeing ghostly figures in the rear view or side mirrors, figures that vanish when the eyes turn to face them directly. These apparitions often resemble people from different eras, some dressed in pioneer clothing, others in the worn garb of miners or travelers who once navigated the canyon. Witnesses describe their reflections, showing strangers in the car, sometimes seated silently or staring back with hollow, expressionless eyes. In some accounts, the figures reach toward the mirror, as if trying to escape the reflection itself, and then vanish entirely. There are countless stories of drivers who stop to confront these spectral images. In nearly every account, those who dared to look closer or attempt to follow the apparition disappeared without a trace. Cars are sometimes later found abandoned, engines still running, doors unlocked, and belongings untouched. Despite extensive searches, the missing are never recovered. One local recounted finding a vehicle parked near a sharp curve, keys in the ignition, yet the driver had vanished as if swallowed by the canyon. Residents believe that those who stop to investigate the ghostly reflections may be pulled into the echoes themselves, trapped between the present and the spectral past. Some theories suggest that the canyon's unique acoustics and geography contribute to the haunting. The narrow walls and natural curves of Echo Canyon can distort sound and light, creating illusions and magnifying ordinary noises into something unearthly. However, many witnesses insist that what they experienced goes beyond optical or auditory tricks. Phantom figures, vanishing drivers, and lingering screams suggest a more tangible presence, one tied to the history of the canyon and the people who perished along its treacherous stretches. Miners, pioneers, and travelers faced steep cliffs, sudden rock slides, and harsh weather, and many never completed their journey. Locals believe that their spirits, bound by tragedy and unfinished business, continue to haunt the road, replaying their final moments in endless loops. In addition to visual and auditory phenomena, the canyon is said to echo with silent screams. Those who have walked or hiked along its narrow paths report hearing the faint, almost imperceptible sound of someone crying out, though no words are discernible. The effect can last for days, lingering in the minds of witnesses long after they have left. Some describe waking in the night, hearing the same cries faintly through walls and windows, convinced that the canyon has imprinted its anguish upon their consciousness. These echoes, combined with fleeting glimpses of figures in mirrors, create a persistent sense of unease that pervades every journey along the road. Motorists often describe a compulsion to keep moving, a need to reach the end of the canyon quickly, as if hesitation or curiosity might invite the spirits closer. The road's twists and blind turns amplify this fear, making it difficult to slow down or stop safely. Those who venture at night alone are especially vulnerable. Multiple disappearances have been reported under such circumstances, adding to the road's ominous reputation. Locals warn that even stopping briefly to gaze into a mirror can be dangerous. The canyon, they say, does not tolerate intrusion or curiosity, and it protects its secrets fiercely. Despite its frightening reputation, Echo Canyon Road continues to draw travelers, thrill seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost hunters arrive equipped with cameras, night vision devices, and audio recorders, hoping to capture proof of the apparitions and echoes that have plagued the road for generations. Some report fleeting shadows, distorted reflections, or audio anomalies consistent with the legends. Others return shaken, unable to explain the intense sense of being watched. The unexplained chills and the haunting impressions left by the canyon's restless spirits. Gore Pass Road in Grand County is a place where the beauty of the Rockies masks an eerie and deadly secret. By day, the road winds gracefully through dense pine forests and snow-dusted peaks, offering breathtaking views of mountain valleys and distant ridgelines. But when night falls, the familiar curves and switchbacks take on an ominous quality. Locals speak in hushed tones of ghostly lights that appear above the roadway, seemingly suspended in mid-air, guiding travelers toward dangerous cliffs and sharp turns. These lights, often described as flickering lanterns or glowing orbs, are said to lure the unwary, with consequences that are sometimes fatal. Stories about Gore Pass Road date back decades to the early days of mountain exploration. The road was once a critical passage for miners and settlers navigating the rugged terrain. Many perished along its treacherous bends, slipping from unguarded edges or losing control on narrow switchbacks. Over time, witnesses began reporting strange lights hovering over the road at night, moving slowly as if guiding or beckoning them forward. Some travelers described the lights as warm and inviting, while others claimed they glowed with an unnatural, almost spectral quality. Visitors to Gore Pass Road recount unsettling experiences almost immediately after nightfall. Drivers report seeing orbs or floating lanterns above the road, often moving in ways that defy logic. The lights sometimes seem to hover just above the center line, disappearing when approached, only to reappear farther ahead. Some have described following the lights, thinking they might indicate the road's path, only to find themselves approaching blind curves, sheer drops, or dangerous cliffs. In several documented cases, vehicles were found abandoned along the roadside, with no trace of the driver or passengers. Witnesses claim the only evidence left behind were skid marks or the faint impression of tire tracks leading to nowhere. The phenomenon is not limited to visual apparitions. Many travelers report a sudden drop in temperature as the lights appear, accompanied by a feeling of being watched. Some claim to hear faint whispers, low voices carried on the wind, as if the spirits of those who died along the pass are trying to communicate or warn. These whispers are said to be both alluring and threatening, urging some drivers to follow the lights while instilling dread in others. The combination of visual and auditory disturbances creates a disorienting experience, leaving travelers uncertain about what is real and what is imagined. Paranormal investigators have explored Gore Pass Road, attempting to document the mysterious lights and eerie phenomena. Cameras and night vision equipment often capture faint glowing shapes hovering above the roadway, sometimes darting quickly to avoid detection. Temperature sensors record sudden drops that cannot be explained by altitude or weather conditions. Audio equipment occasionally picks up soft murmurs or distorted voices, but the source remains elusive. Investigators note that the lights appear to move in ways that defy conventional physics, appearing and disappearing with no apparent energy source. Some suggest that the road acts as a natural conduit for residual energy, concentrating the tragic history of accidents and lost lives into a visual manifestation. Those who venture on foot report similar experiences. Hikers and campers along Gore Pass Road at night describe sudden shadows moving among the trees, cold drafts brushing past them despite calm conditions, and the sensation of being followed by unseen eyes. Some have glimpsed humanoid forms at the edge of cliffs, only for them to vanish when looked at directly. The road and surrounding terrain seem to amplify these experiences, creating an unsettling sense that the mountains themselves remember the past and project it onto the living. The lights of Gore Pass Road are particularly treacherous because they exploit human trust and curiosity. Drivers naturally follow them, assuming they indicate the safest route along the road, especially in dense fog or during snowfall. But those who follow the lights too closely often encounter sharp bends or drops where guardrails are absent. The number of unexplained disappearances along the pass has cemented its reputation among locals, who advise never to drive the road alone after dark. Some experienced drivers report taking alternate routes or turning back as soon as the lights appear, citing instinctive fear as the only protection against the pass's supernatural influence. Despite its dangers, Gore Pass Road continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many come hoping to capture footage of the ghostly lights or to experience firsthand the eerie atmosphere. Some approach with caution, driving slowly and avoiding the road's most dangerous sections, while others take the risk of following the lights to see where they lead. Accounts from these visitors bear some see nothing at all, while others report lights moving along the road, seemingly aware of their presence, teasing and guiding in ways that challenge comprehension. Local legend holds that the lights are the spirits of miners and settlers who perished on the pass, unable to leave the area and endlessly guiding or misleading those who enter their domain. Some claim the spirits are benevolent, attempting to warn travelers of the road's hidden dangers, while others insist the lights are malevolent, feeding on fear and curiosity to claim new victims. The truth remains uncertain, but the consistency of reports over decades suggests that something unusual persists on Gore Pass Road, something tied to its history and the treacherous nature of the terrain. Marshall Pass Road in Gunnison County winds through the rugged mountains of Colorado, a scenic route by day but a corridor of dread by night. The road was once a critical passage for miners during the gold rush, a narrow trail carved into cliffs and snow-laden valleys that connected remote mining camps to larger settlements. Today, it is known less for its beauty and more for its dark reputation. Locals speak in hushed tones of ghostly miners, cursed by avalanches and long-forgotten accidents, whose restless spirits still roam the pass. Travelers along Marshall Pass Road have reported eerie and inexplicable phenomena for decades. Drivers often describe hearing the unmistakable sound of pickaxes striking rock, echoing across ridges where no mining has occurred for over a century. The metallic clinks are sometimes accompanied by distant screams carried on the wind, chilling those who hear them. Hikers and campers in the area report sudden cold drafts that appear without warning, often accompanied by the feeling of being watched. Many claim to have glimpsed shadowy figures moving among the trees or along the road's edges, only for them to vanish when approached. The road's treacherous geography amplifies these eerie experiences. Narrow curves skirt cliffs with sheer drops, and snow often lingers well into the warmer months, making visibility difficult. Travelers recount that fog tends to roll in unpredictably, shrouding the road in a ghostly mist. Within this veil, the spirits of miners are said to appear, sometimes as glowing forms or indistinct silhouettes moving along the trail. A common theme in witness reports is the sense that these apparitions are performing tasks from long ago, digging, hammering, or climbing over rocks, replaying the work that ultimately led to their deaths. Stories of disappearances add to the pass's ominous reputation. Numerous vehicles have been found abandoned along Marshall Pass Road, often with engines running and personal belongings untouched. Hikers have gone missing, leaving behind only footprints that abruptly end in snow or dirt. Some visitors claim to see footprints appearing alongside their own as they walk, only for them to vanish moments later. Locals insist that the spirits of those lost in avalanches remain bound to the area, replaying the final moments of their lives and occasionally drawing the living into the same fate. Paranormal investigations have documented unusual activity along the pass. Cameras left overnight often capture faint, glowing figures moving along the edges of the road or across snowfields. Night vision footage reveals forms that resemble miners in period clothing, climbing, or digging where no human activity is possible. Audio recordings have picked up metallic strikes, distant voices, and faint cries that cannot be explained by wind or wildlife. Some investigators suggest that the area acts as a natural amplifier for residual energy. The tragic history of Marshall Pass leaving a persistent imprint on the landscape. Drivers describe encounters that are both visual and sensory. A glowing figure might suddenly appear on the roadside, gesturing toward a blind curve or steep cliff. Others recount seeing lantern-like orbs floating above the road, moving in ways that seem intentional, almost guiding them. When drivers attempt to follow or avoid these lights, they often report feeling disoriented, as if the road has shifted. And some claim to see spectral wagons or miners appearing in their peripheral vision. The combination of visual cues, sounds, and inexplicable temperature changes creates a disorienting environment, leaving travelers unsure of what is real. The pass has also gained a reputation among hikers and campers. Those who set out at dusk report hearing the rhythmic clinking of pickaxes echoing across ridges, even when no mining equipment exists. Shadows sometimes dart between trees, disappearing when observers attempt to focus on them. The wind often carries cries and murmurs, voices that seem to call names or recount moments of fear and struggle. Hikers who stray too far from the main path sometimes report sudden chills or the feeling of invisible hands brushing past them. Some swear they have glimpsed spectral miners pointing or gesturing, warning them of danger or beckoning them forward into areas from which they never return. Local lore offers explanations for the strange activity. Legend has it that the miners who perished in avalanches were never properly buried or commemorated. Their spirits, trapped in a state of unrest, wander the pass in search of closure or revenge. Some believe the ghosts reenact the work that led to their deaths, creating auditory and visual phenomena that draw attention to their plight. Others insist that the pass itself is cursed, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin, allowing the past to bleed into the present. Despite the warnings, Marshall Pass Road continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Some come armed with cameras, audio recorders, and night vision equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the miner spirits. Accounts from these visitors vary. Some see nothing at all, while others report encountering the ghostly miners directly, witnessing figures digging, climbing, or standing silently beside the road. Many claim that the spirits are unpredictable, appearing in different places each night and vanishing as quickly as they arrive. The road's treacherous conditions, combined with its supernatural reputation, make it a place where caution is paramount. Locals advise never to travel Marshall Pass Road alone at night and to remain alert for sudden appearances, fog, or cold drafts. Those who respect the history and heed warnings often pass safely, while those who ignore the stories sometimes vanish, adding to the long list of unexplained incidents along the pass. Teller County Road, winding through the mountainous terrain near Cripple Creek, Colorado, carries a reputation that is as chilling as it is intriguing. By day, it offers sweeping views of pine-covered hills, jagged cliffs, and the historic remnants of Colorado's gold rush era. By night, however, the road transforms into a place of mystery, legend, and fear, drawing the attention of thrill-seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and those daring enough to test its haunted reputation. Locals insist that Teller County Road is not just a road, it is a corridor between the past and the supernatural, where the echoes of history refuse to remain buried. Historically, Teller County Road played a critical role in the region's development. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, it served as a smuggling route, allowing miners, gamblers, and opportunists to transport contraband goods, gold, and other valuables between towns in secrecy. Its narrow paths, steep cliffs, and winding curves made it ideal for evading authorities, but also made travel dangerous. Accidents, sudden rock slides, and the treacherous weather claimed many lives, and over time, these events contributed to the road's dark aura. However, it is the legend of the ghostly man in the top hat that has captured the imagination of locals and visitors alike. The story is simple, yet unsettling. Travelers report seeing a lone man standing along the roadside, dressed in a dark coat and a top hat, waving as if to beckon drivers closer. At first, he appears polite, almost courteous, and some say he smiles faintly, his demeanor oddly charming. Yet those who stop curious or foolhardy are never seen again. Cars are later discovered, abandoned, keys in the ignition, doors unlocked, but the occupants vanished as if swallowed by the mountains themselves. Witnesses who have narrowly avoided stopping describe an intense feeling of dread, as though an invisible hand urges them onward, warning them not to approach. Those who have encountered the top-hatted figure often describe a surreal experience. One motorist recalled driving home after sunset when he noticed a silhouette along a curve. The figure waved, and instinctively, the driver slowed, mesmerized by the unusual appearance. Then, a cold wind swept through the vehicle, extinguishing the warmth of the heater and carrying the faint echo of laughter. The driver's instincts urged him to keep moving, and he obeyed. The laughter followed, echoing through the mountains long after he had rounded the bend, leaving him with a chill that lingered for hours. Others report that the laughter is not just a sound but a feeling, seeping into the chest and mind, creating a sense of terror that persists even after leaving the road. Many believe the top-hatted figure is a remnant of Teller County's tumultuous past, perhaps a smuggler or opportunist who met a tragic end along the route. Some suggest that the man's ghost relives the thrill of evading capture or exacting vengeance on the living who dared to trespass on his domain. Others argue that he is a sentinel of the road itself, a supernatural entity that has claimed souls over generations, ensuring that the dangers of Teller County Road are never forgotten. Regardless of origin, the consistent reports over decades give the legend a sense of inevitability, a warning encoded into the very curves and cliffs of the road. The geography of Teller County Road amplifies its haunted reputation. The narrow path snakes through dense forests and cliffs that rise sharply on one side while dropping into shadowy ravines on the other. Fog often rolls in from the surrounding mountains, and at night, visibility drops to mere feet. These conditions, combined with the road's history and legends, create the perfect setting for the mind to perceive the supernatural, or perhaps for the supernatural itself to manifest. Travelers report seeing the figure appear suddenly from the fog, standing impossibly still at the roadside before vanishing without a trace when approached. In some cases, multiple witnesses in separate vehicles describe identical encounters, strengthening the credibility of the tales. In addition to visual encounters, the top-hatted figure is associated with auditory phenomena. The laughter that follows the mountains is frequently described as echoing, almost mocking in its tone. Some say it is faint at first, like a trick of the wind, then grows louder, as if pursuing the observer. A few accounts even describe the sound of clinking coins or the rustle of silk coats, as if the ghost is reenacting the life he once led. For those unfamiliar with the road, these sounds are terrifying, especially when combined with the isolation and darkness that characterize Teller County Road after dusk. Local folklore offers warnings to travelers. Stories passed down through families insist that no one should stop for the figure, no matter how polite or human he appears. Some even advise avoiding the road entirely after dark, citing decades of disappearances and unexplained events. Paranormal investigators who have explored the area report feeling intense pressure, sudden drops in temperature, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Particularly near the bends, where the figure is most frequently seen, attempts to capture photographic evidence often fail, with cameras malfunctioning or images appearing blurred and distorted, adding another layer of mystery to the legend. Despite the danger, Teller County Road continues to draw those fascinated by the supernatural. Ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and adventurers venture onto the road at night, hoping for a glimpse of the top-hatted figure or to capture proof of his existence. Some leave with stories of fleeting shadows and cold gusts of wind, while others return, shaken by the persistent echo of laughter that seems to cling to the mind. These encounters reinforce the road's reputation as a place where the past and present collide, where history refuses to rest, and where the mountains themselves seem to guard a secret no living person should uncover. Devil's Backbone, a jagged ridge cutting sharply through the forests of Larimore County, Colorado, is a road both revered for its breathtaking views and feared for its sinister reputation. By day, the ridge offers panoramic vistas of rolling hills, dense pine forests, and distant mountain peaks, drawing hikers, tourists, and photographers. The narrow, winding road clinging to the spine of the ridge is an engineering feat, a testament to determination and the human desire to traverse even the most challenging terrain. By night, however, Devil's Backbone becomes a place of unease, mystery, and unexplainable phenomena, earning it a reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted roads. The most enduring legend associated with Devil's Backbone involves phantom hitchhikers. Numerous travelers report encountering figures on the side of the road, often appearing as men or women in period clothing or casual modern attire. They stand by the roadside with outstretched thumbs, seeking a ride along the ridge. Initially, the requests seem harmless, even mundane, and many drivers, motivated by curiosity or goodwill, stop to offer assistance. However, the encounter rarely proceeds as expected. In most accounts, the hitchhiker vanishes mid-journey, disappearing without warning or explanation, leaving the driver alone, often shaken and confused. The geography of Devil's Backbone contributes to the unnerving nature of these encounters. The road hugs the crest of a jagged ridge, with steep drops on either side and limited guardrails in some sections. Skid marks often appear on the asphalt near the cliff's edge, evidence of sudden braking, swerving, or panic. Yet the vehicles themselves remain untouched, with no sign of the passengers who triggered the emergency. These abrupt appearances and disappearances of the phantom hitchhikers have become a hallmark of the ridge, creating a chilling consistency in the reports over decades. Witnesses often describe a lingering coldness, a sudden sense of vertigo, or an inexplicable tension in the vehicle during the encounter. Many travelers recall seeing the figures with startling clarity. One driver reported picking up a young man dressed in 1930s clothing near the center of the ridge. They spoke briefly about the scenery, the man's eyes reflecting a strange melancholy, before the driver turned to ask a question and discovered the passenger had vanished. Moments later, the car swerved slightly on its own, as if jolted by an unseen presence, leaving the driver with a heightened sense of fear. Another witness described a young woman holding a small suitcase, her expression earnest as she requested a ride. The driver agreed, only to look back minutes later and find the seat empty, the suitcase gone, and the road around them silent except for the hum of the engine. The origins of these ghostly figures are the subject of local lore and speculation. Some believe the hitchhikers are spirits of those who perished along the treacherous ridge, victims of accidents, falling rocks, or misjudged turns. Others suggest they may be travelers from decades past, trapped between worlds, eternally seeking passage along the spine of the ridge. Legends hint at tragic stories of lost love, unfinished journeys, and fatal mistakes, all imprinted upon the road in the form of spectral hitchhikers. Those who encounter them often describe an inexplicable sense of sorrow, as if the spirits are attempting to convey their unresolved stories to the living. Auditory phenomena accompany many sightings. Drivers report hearing footsteps echoing on the asphalt, faint whispers carried by the wind, or the sudden slam of a car door that has no physical source. Some claim to have heard the faint sound of laughter, music, or conversation, though the figures are nowhere to be seen. In the stillness of night, these sounds amplify the tension, leaving travelers with the unnerving impression that they are not alone. Some accounts describe a sudden silence that falls after the disappearance, a void so heavy it seems almost tangible, as if the ridge itself holds its breath in anticipation of the next encounter. The psychological effect of Devil's Backbone is profound. Drivers often report a compulsion to continue moving, a need to traverse the ridge quickly, despite the temptation to investigate or turn back. Fog frequently rolls over the ridge at night, limiting visibility to mere feet, which intensifies the sense of isolation and vulnerability. The narrow road, combined with steep cliffs and dense forest on either side, creates the perfect environment for both supernatural phenomena and human anxiety. Paranormal Paranormal enthusiasts who visit the area at night often speak of sudden chills, inexplicable shadows and mirrors, and a creeping dread that persists long after leaving the ridge. The consistency of reports over generations lends credence to the legend of the phantom hitchhikers. Locals recall stories passed down from parents and grandparents, each tale emphasizing caution, respect, and the inexplicable nature of the ridge. Some warn against stopping for anyone along the road after dusk, claiming that curiosity can be fatal. Others advise traveling in groups, as the spectral presence seems less likely to appear when multiple people occupy a vehicle. Despite these warnings, Devil's Backbone continues to draw the brave, the curious, and the thrill-seekers, eager to witness the phenomena firsthand. The abandoned vehicles and sudden skids reported along the ridge add a tangible, frightening element to the stories. Some cars are found in the same positions they were last seen, with engines still running, doors unlocked, and belongings intact, yet the occupants have vanished completely. Investigations by law enforcement often yield no explanation, further cementing the ridge's reputation as a place where the natural and supernatural intersect. For many, the road is not just a path through the forest, but a living, breathing entity, with the power to lure travelers into encounters with forces beyond comprehension. Devil's Backbone remains one of Larimore County's most haunting roads, where history, danger, and the supernatural converge. Its jagged cliffs, winding turns, and dense forests preserve memories of accidents, lost travelers, and lingering spirits. For those who drive it, the ridge is more than a road. It is a test of courage, awareness, and respect for the unknown. The phantom hitchhikers, the skid marks, near sheer drop-offs, and the persistent echoes of footsteps and whispers create a landscape where the living and the dead brush against one another. Each journey along Devil's Backbone is a reminder that some roads carry more than vehicles. They carry the memories, fears, and unresolved stories of those who traveled them before. Silverton Road, snaking through the rugged peaks of the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, is a road steeped in history, danger, and chilling legend. Originally carved out in the late 19th century to serve the bustling mining towns that dotted the high mountains, it carried miners, prospectors, and supplies across treacherous terrain. The road's sharp switchbacks, narrow passages, and sheer drop-offs made it perilous in any season. But its unforgiving reputation only grew as stories of disappearances, accidents, and hauntings began to circulate. Even today, travelers speak in hushed tones about Silverton Road, warning that its beauty masks a lurking danger, one that does not always come from the natural world. The San Juan Mountains are notorious for sudden snowstorms, high winds, and dense fog that can materialize in minutes, reducing visibility to nearly zero. But what has made Silverton Road infamous are disappearances that occur even on clear nights. Locals and visitors alike report that travelers vanish inexplicably, sometimes mid-curve, with no warning, leaving behind vehicles abandoned on the side of the road or tucked into snow-covered pull-offs. Weeks later, some cars are found buried under ice or snow, untouched but empty, as though the occupants had simply disappeared into thin air. Extensive searches often yield no trace of the missing, and the circumstances defy logical explanation. Many of the eerie encounters involve the spirits of miners who once worked these mountains. Witnesses have described shadowy figures appearing in the fog, often standing along the edge of cliffs or at sharp curves, silently beckoning travelers to approach. The figures are dressed in the period clothing of the late 1800s, worn overalls, hats, and boots caked with dirt, and their faces, when glimpsed, are pale and expressionless. One driver recounted passing a bend, shrouded in mist, and noticing a miner pointing toward a turn that led to a steep drop. Chills ran down his spine, and though instinct screamed to keep driving straight, the figure seemed to urge him closer. When he blinked, the miner was gone, leaving only a lingering sense of unease that persisted for miles. The fog and snowstorms that descend on Silverton Road are said to amplify the supernatural presence. Even when the sky is clear, witnesses report thick, swirling fog along certain sections, as if the mountains themselves are summoning spirits to the roadway. Travelers describe hearing distant hammering, the echo of pickaxes striking rock, or muffled voices calling from nowhere. The sounds are subtle, often mistaken for wind or the shifting of ice. But those attuned to the stories know they are warnings from the past. Some report that their vehicles felt heavier or slower in these sections, as though an unseen force were guiding them toward the cliff edges where countless miners met their end. Ghostly apparitions on Silverton Road do not always remain stationary. Drivers frequently report that the figures appear to move alongside their vehicles, keeping pace as they navigate the curves. In some cases, travelers have seen the miner appear briefly in their rearview mirror, standing behind the vehicle, only to vanish a moment later when the driver turns to look directly. Others describe seeing multiple figures lining the cliffs, silently urging them to veer dangerously close to the edge, their motionless faces seemingly pleading or warning simultaneously. These experiences leave many drivers shaken, unable to explain what they saw, and with a deep, lingering fear that something unseen had chosen to watch over their journey. Abandoned vehicles add another layer of terror to Silverton Road's reputation. Locals tell stories of cars found days or even weeks later, half buried in snow or ice, yet with no sign of struggle. Keys remain in the ignition, doors unlocked, personal belongings untouched. In some cases, tracks in the snow lead to the edge of a cliff and then vanish, as if the occupants had been lifted into another plane. The mystery surrounding these disappearances has inspired countless theories, from natural hazards and disorientation to paranormal intervention. Yet the consistency of these reports over decades has cemented the road as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems unusually thin. The road's geography intensifies the danger and the legend. Silverton Road winds along cliffs, crosses high mountain passes, and threads through deep ravines. Visibility is limited, the turns are abrupt, and the mountain walls can trap sound, making even a whisper echo eerily. In such conditions, a momentary distraction or misjudgment can prove fatal. Many locals believe that the spirits of miners capitalize on these natural hazards, using the fog, snow, and cliffs to create illusions or manipulate the senses of travelers. Some claim the spirits are not inherently malevolent, they are simply bound to the mountains and the road, endlessly repeating the final moments of their lives. Others suggest a more sinister purpose, a compulsion to draw the living into their tragic fate. Audio phenomena accompany the visual sightings. Travelers report hearing the clatter of tools, the dragging of heavy equipment, or low, mournful sighs that seem to emanate from the canyon walls. At times, the sounds are indistinct but unnerving footsteps crunching on snow, muffled voices calling warnings that cannot be understood. The combination of auditory and visual apparitions creates an environment of psychological tension, making every bend in the road feel like a potential encounter with the past. Those who have experienced it describe a profound sense of isolation, the knowledge that help is far away, and the unnerving impression that unseen eyes are following every movement. Paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers continue to explore Silverton Road, hoping to capture evidence of its haunted reputation. Some report fleeting shadows caught on cameras, unexplained cold spots, and audio recordings filled with indistinct voices. Others recount being followed by fog or seeing lights along the road that cannot be explained by traffic or settlements. Despite repeated attempts to document the phenomena, no definitive proof has silenced the stories, leaving Silverton Road shrouded in mystery and fear. Lizard Head Pass Road, twisting through the remote highlands of Dolores County, Colorado, is a route as dangerous as it is captivating. Winding through jagged peaks, sheer cliffs, and dense forests, the road offers breathtaking views of the San Juan Mountains and sweeping valleys below. By day, it attracts hikers, photographers, and adventure seekers drawn to its rugged beauty. By night, however, it takes on a far more sinister character. Travelers and locals alike whisper of vanishings, shadowy figures, and chilling sounds that defy explanation. Lizard Head Pass Road is not merely a mountain. Rooted is a corridor where the natural and supernatural collide, and where many who venture off the beaten path never return. Historically, Lizard Head Pass Road was carved as a passage through some of Colorado's most unforgiving terrain. Its narrow lanes and hairpin curves challenged early settlers, miners, and loggers who relied on the route to reach remote settlements or transport supplies. The rugged geography, combined with frequent landslides, sudden weather changes, and loose rock, made accidents common. Over the years, countless hikers and drivers have disappeared along the road, sometimes leaving behind vehicles, equipment, or footprints that vanish mysteriously. These unexplained vanishings, coupled with sightings of a strange, shadowy entity, have given rise to one of the region's most chilling legends. The most common reports involve a shadowy figure said to resemble a lizard, moving with uncanny speed and agility across the road. Witnesses describe its appearance as dark and sinuous, sometimes hunched like a lizard, other times moving upright like a human silhouette distorted in the mountain shadows. It is rarely fully seen, often caught from the corner of an eye or glimpsed in passing headlights, but its presence is unmistakable. Those who attempt to approach the figure often vanish. Cars are occasionally found abandoned near the curve or ridge where the sighting occurred. Doors unlocked, engines running, yet with no sign of the occupants. The mystery surrounding these disappearances has fostered fear and fascination, and the stories have been passed down from hikers, drivers, and locals for generations. Ghostly screams are another feature of Lizard Head Pass Road. Travelers report hearing anguished cries echoing from the cliffs and valleys. Sometimes distant and haunting, other times so loud and sudden that the sound freezes them in place. The screams are said to carry for miles, bouncing off the rocky walls of the pass and lingering long after the source has vanished. Some say the echoes are the voices of those who disappeared, trapped in the mountains by some supernatural force. Others believe the screams are warnings, a signal to turn back before following the shadowy lizard into danger. The auditory experiences are as vivid as the visual ones, and together they create a sense of persistent unease that is difficult to shake even after leaving the pass. Many accounts emphasize the road's treacherous geography. Lizard Head Pass Road winds through steep inclines and sharp drop-offs, where even a small misstep can result in catastrophe. Weather can change abruptly, bringing dense fog, sudden rain, or heavy snow that reduces visibility and makes travel hazardous. The combination of natural danger and supernatural reports has made the road infamous. Hikers recount feeling watched while traversing isolated trails, hearing soft footfalls behind them, or glimpsing dark shapes darting between trees. Drivers report sudden swerves, brakes locking, and skidding tires as if an unseen force guided them, often near the locations where the lizard-like figure has been seen. Local folklore suggests that the shadowy figure may be the spirit of a creature tied to the land itself, a guardian of the pass that exacts a mysterious toll on those who approach. Others speculate that it is the remnant of early miners or settlers who perished along the road, transformed by grief, anger, or unfinished business into a spectral entity. Some theorists claim the entity feeds on fear, drawing the curious and unwary to their doom. The repeated nature of sightings, vanishings, and strange occurrences has led many to treat the road with extreme caution, especially after dark. Sightings often involve sudden, inexplicable movements. Drivers describe spotting the lizard-like figure crossing the road at unnatural speed, only to vanish when approached. One hiker recounted stopping to get a closer look and hearing a low, guttural hiss before feeling an invisible force push them back down the trail. The presence is often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, icy drafts, or the sensation of being watched. Some hikers describe hearing whispers that seem to come from nowhere, urging them forward or warning them to retreat. Attempts to photograph the entity rarely succeed, with cameras malfunctioning or producing blurred, shadowed images that defy explanation. Abandoned vehicles, missing hikers, and strange physical phenomena are recurring elements in the stories. Vehicles are found weeks later, often covered in snow or dust, yet intact. Equipment left behind is undisturbed, personal belongings remain, and tracks in the surrounding terrain vanish inexplicably. Search parties frequently find no clues to the missing person's fate, leaving families, friends, and investigators puzzled and fearful. The pattern of disappearances suggests a link between the shadowy figure, the geography of the pass, and the unexplained auditory experiences. The road's allure continues to draw thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Visitors attempt to document the strange phenomena using night vision cameras, audio recorders, and other devices. Some report fleeting shadows, distorted figures, and recordings of unidentifiable screams or whispers. Others recount experiences that defy logical explanation, compasses spinning wildly, sudden chills that penetrate through clothing, and the unmistakable sensation of being followed. Even when no figure is visible, the oppressive atmosphere of the pass leaves an indelible mark on those who traverse it. Lizardhead Pass Road endures as a place where the natural and supernatural intertwine. Its treacherous curves, steep cliffs, and isolated trails preserve the memory of countless lives lost, while the shadowy lizard figure and the ghostly screams keep the legend alive. Travelers who venture along the pass must contend not only with physical danger, but with the lingering presence of an unknown force, one that seems to claim the curious and the bold alike. For those who dare to drive or hike the road after dark Lizardhead Pass is more than a route through the mountains. It is a test of courage, a confrontation with the unexplained, and a reminder that some paths are guarded by secrets that should never be challenged. Bishop Castle Road, nestled in the scenic, wet mountain valley of southern Colorado, is a road that draws travelers for its striking views and its most famous landmark, the eccentric Bishop Castle. Constructed largely by one man over decades, the castle's towering spires, winding staircases, and elaborate ironwork have captured the imagination of visitors from across the country. By day, the road offers a winding journey through forests, rolling hills, and fields that stretch toward the mountains. By night, however, Bishop Castle Road transforms into something far more sinister. Locals and travelers alike speak of strange occurrences, mysterious vanishings, and a lingering presence that haunts the forests surrounding the castle. The legend centers on the spirit of a former caretaker of the castle. Little is known about his life, though stories suggest he was deeply devoted to the property, maintaining it with meticulous care. He is said to have lived in solitude, wandering the grounds for hours at a time, tending to the castle's ironwork, towers, and surrounding forests. Some accounts describe him as a stern man, dedicated to preserving the castle at any cost. According to local folklore, his attachment did not end with his death. Travelers claim that his spirit now roams the road and forest, silently observing, sometimes drawing those who venture too close into the woods, never to be seen again. Those who travel Bishop Castle Road after dark report experiences that are difficult to explain. One common phenomenon involves headlights disappearing mid-journey. Drivers describe their lights flickering, then vanishing entirely, leaving them in pitch darkness despite a clear night sky. Some witnesses report that the headlights reappear the next morning, abandoned on the roadside, with the vehicle gone. Others speak of seeing figures along the roadside, indistinct shapes that move with unnatural grace through the trees. Travelers report a feeling of being watched, as though eyes follow them from the shadows, and a compelling urge to turn back or leave the road immediately. Encounters with the caretaker's spirit are often described as subtle at first, then increasingly unsettling. Some drivers report hearing footsteps on gravel behind their vehicles, though no one is visible when they stop. Others claim to have seen a man wandering through the trees near the edge of the road, his figure partially obscured by the forest mist. Those who attempt to approach or investigate often recount the sensation of being pulled or compelled to move forward, deeper into the woods. In several accounts, individuals vanish entirely, leaving vehicles, personal belongings, and sometimes even footprints that abruptly end at the tree line. Locals have long issued warnings about traveling Bishop Castle Road alone at night. Generations of residents recount tales of friends or acquaintances who ventured after dusk and returned shaken or not at all. Many advise that curiosity or disregard for the road's legends can be dangerous. Despite the warnings, thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and those drawn to the eerie reputation of the castle often attempt the journey. Some return with stories of fleeting shadows, sudden drops in temperature, or the sensation of someone walking alongside the car, despite the road being empty. Others are never seen again, adding another layer to the road's already haunting reputation. The forest surrounding Bishop Castle Road adds to the unnerving nature of the legend. Dense pine trees line the winding roadway, their trunks casting deep shadows even in moonlight. Occasional clearings provide glimpses of the castle's towers. But the surrounding woods are thick, concealing movement and amplifying sound. Drivers often report hearing whispers carried on the wind, indistinct but chilling, or the soft rustle of unseen movement in the underbrush. Some have claimed that the forest itself seems alive, responding to their presence with shifting shadows or branches that bend as though to block the path. In addition to visual and auditory phenomena, some travelers report physical sensations during encounters. A sudden weight on the chest, a cold gust that seems to originate from nowhere, or an inexplicable sense of vertigo have been documented. These experiences are sometimes accompanied by feelings of dread, an almost psychic pressure warning against continuing. Those familiar with the legend often interpret these sensations as the caretaker's influence, a manifestation of his attachment to the castle and its surroundings, ensuring that no one trespasses on his domain without consequence. Bishop Castle itself adds to the mystique of the road. Its towers, iron staircases, and intricate stonework have always invited fascination. But the castle's remote location amplifies the sense of isolation for anyone traveling nearby after dark. Visitors report that the closer they come to the castle at night, the more intense the supernatural occurrences become. Shadows appear on balconies, lights flicker inexplicably, and the feeling of unseen eyes intensifies. It is as if the spirit of the caretaker has intertwined with the structure itself, using the surrounding forest and road to maintain his presence in the physical world. Some who have survived encounters along Bishop Castle Road describe a sense of release upon leaving the area, yet the memory lingers. The stories are retold, the road becomes part of local folklore, and the legend grows with each new witness. Paranormal investigators who have explored the area often report anomalies, unusual temperature fluctuations, electronic interference, and fleeting images captured on cameras. Some claim to hear soft humming or murmuring that seems to emanate from the trees or the castle itself. Whether these events are residual energy, spectral manifestations, or psychological reactions to the road's eerie history, the consistency of reports reinforces the legend of the caretaker. Despite its haunting reputation, Bishop Castle Road continues to attract visitors. Drawn by its combination of beauty, history, and mystery, travelers are advised to respect the warnings, avoid the road at night, and never travel alone. Those who do venture after dark report experiences that challenge their understanding of the natural world. From vanishing headlights to ghostly figures emerging from the forest, the legend of the caretaker ensures that Bishop Castle Road is more than a winding mountain route. It is a place where the past lingers, where the boundary between the living and the dead seems porous, and where curiosity can have unforeseen consequences. You've traveled with me across winding paths, fog-laden passes, and cliffs where the lost still wander. Colorado's mountains hold beauty and a darkness that waits patiently for the unwary. Next time you drive alone at night, listen to the wind, watch the lanterns, and beware of the shadows that follow. Some roads will never release their secrets, and some travelers will never return. Until we meet again, my night wanderers, keep your headlights bright and your hearts brave. Good night.